Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt the crushing weight of financial worry? The sleepless nights, the bills piling up, the dreams put on hold because money just wasn't there? I know I have. And I know many of you have too. But what if I told you that in just 24 hours, your financial life could start to change? That huge sums of money could appear, if only you said the right thing? Sounds impossible, right? Like magic? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not magic. It's a principle, one that's been taught by the brilliant Florence Scovel Shinn. And it works. Imagine this, you have a garden. You plant seeds every day. Some days, you water diligently. Other days, you forget. And yet, when the rain comes, the seeds sprout. Suddenly, your garden is thriving, lush, green, full of life. Money works the same way. You plant seeds with your words. The words you speak, the commands you give to the universe, are like watering your garden. And when you speak the right words, the ones full of faith and clarity, the money grows. Not slowly, not maybe, but quickly. Florence Scovel Shinn teaches a simple, powerful command. I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. Say it aloud. Say it with feeling. Say it like you already believe it. Not tomorrow. Not when you have proof. Now. Why does it work? Because gratitude is a magnet. Gratitude shifts your energy from lack to abundance. It opens doors that logic can't see. It invites opportunity. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, struggling to pay rent, whispered this command one night before bed. She didn't know how it would happen. The next day, a check arrived unexpectedly. An old client she'd almost forgotten about sent payment in full. Just like that. 24 hours. Life-changing. And she's not alone. I've met countless people who've used this principle. Unexpected refunds, surprise job offers, gifts from friends, creative business ideas that generate thousands. All because they spoke the command, building suspense and emotional impact. Now, you might be wondering, will it work for me? Here's the truth. It will, if you truly believe it. If you feel it. If you live it. Doubt is the only thing that blocks the flow. Fear keeps the doors closed. But when you say it with faith, the universe can't help but respond. So today, I challenge you. Right here. Right now. Say it. Whisper it. Shout it. I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. Feel it. Believe it. Expect it. Watch what happens in 24 hours. Opportunities, gifts, money, ideas, they will start to appear. And not just a little. Sometimes, in ways that astonish you. Remember, you are the commander. You are the magnet. You are the gardener of your own abundance. And the universe? It's just waiting for your word. So speak it. Command it. Receive it. Because the truth is, abundance is your birthright. And there's no better time than now to claim it. Thank you. Following are the key points you will listen in this video. Words have power. What you speak shapes your financial reality. Gratitude is a magnet. Thankfulness attracts abundance, not lack. Faith is essential. Belief and expectation open doors that doubt closes. The command is simple. I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. Action plus belief equals results. Saying it with feeling accelerates manifestation. Abundance is available now. You don't need to wait. Opportunities appear when you command them. Have you ever noticed how a single sentence can change the course of your entire day? A friend tells you, you're going to do great today, and suddenly, the impossible feels possible. Or maybe someone says, you'll never get that job, and a seed of doubt sneaks in, planting hesitation where confidence should have grown. Words are not just sounds. They are invisible architects, silently shaping the structure of our lives. Now, imagine if the words you spoke every day were designing your financial future. Would you choose them carelessly, or with intention? I remember a young man named Jason. He was bright, talented, and hardworking, yet he was always broke. Bills stacked up on his kitchen counter. And no matter how many hours he worked, money slipped through his fingers like water. One evening, frustrated and desperate, he muttered under his breath, "I'll never get ahead. I'll never be rich." The next day, nothing changed, and the day after, nothing changed again. His words had become a kind of invisible chain, holding him tightly, ensuring the very thing he feared continued. But then, something remarkable happened. Jason attended a small seminar on manifestation. The speaker shared a simple idea. What you speak out loud becomes your truth. Speak lack, and lack will respond. Speak abundance, and abundance will answer. At first, Jason scoffed. It sounded too simple, almost foolish. Yet, something in that moment struck him deeply, a tiny spark in the dark that whispered, "What if it's true?" He decided to try. The next morning, he woke up and, before brushing his teeth or checking his phone, he said out loud, "I am open to receiving unexpected wealth today. I am ready for money to flow to me in wonderful ways." The words felt strange in his mouth, almost alien, but he repeated them with curiosity, with hope, and, slowly, with belief. By noon, his phone rang. It was an old client he hadn't heard from in months, calling to pay a forgotten invoice. A check arrived in the mail. Then a friend called, offering him a small side project he hadn't asked for. By evening, he was sitting in his apartment, looking at the unexpected sums of money he had already received, and he realized the truth. His words had moved the universe in his favor. They weren't just sounds. They were commands, gentle and insistent, that summoned opportunity where before there had been none. Words carry energy. Think about the time someone has spoken to you with anger or criticism. Did it leave you feeling heavier? Now, think about the times someone encouraged you, praised you, or told you, "You can do it." Did you feel lighter, braver, more capable? Money is no different. When we speak scarcity, fear, or limitation, our energy closes off, and opportunities shrink. When we speak abundance, possibility, and faith, we open doors that logic alone could never unlock. I've seen it countless times with people just like you. A woman named Maria had been struggling to pay rent for months. She was drowning in debt and had no idea how she would make it through the week. Her friends and family offered advice, but nothing seemed to stick. Then, she heard about Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching on the power of spoken words. Skeptical but desperate, she whispered the command, "I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now." She whispered it before she went to sleep, almost like a bedtime prayer. The next morning, an unexpected check arrived in her mailbox, covering her rent and leaving her with enough to breathe for the first time in weeks. She told me later, "I couldn't believe it. I hadn't done anything differently. I just said it. And it came." Words are the first act of creation. Before you take a step, before you sign a contract, before you even dream it fully, the words you speak set the stage. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. One small flicker of intentional speech can illuminate the path ahead. And when it comes to money, that path often appears lined with opportunities, offers, and unexpected gifts. Imagine you are holding a bucket under a waterfall. The water is abundance. But if the bucket has holes, no matter how much water flows, it slips through. Negative words are the holes. Phrases like "I can't afford this," "I'll never get ahead," or "money just doesn't come to me" create leaks in your ability to receive. But words of faith, gratitude, and expectation seal those holes. They make the bucket whole. And suddenly, the waterfall begins to fill it. It is that simple. It is that profound. Think about the times in your own life when you have spoken a wish aloud. Maybe it was something small, like hoping for a parking spot or finding the last item you needed at the store. When you spoke it with confidence, didn't it often appear? Words are the same for money. The universe is listening, not judging. It doesn't care about your history, your past mistakes, or the size of your bank account. It responds to what you declare with feeling, clarity, and expectation. A friend of mine, David, once told me, "I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was just positive thinking nonsense. But I was desperate, so I said it anyway." He had been out of work for 3 months. One night, he said the command, "I am open to receive financial blessings now." He didn't know how it would happen. He went to bed with nothing but hope. The next morning, a former client reached out, offering him a lucrative freelance project he hadn't anticipated. Within 24 hours, David's bank account had grown significantly, and he realized that speaking abundance wasn't superstition. It was a signal, a beacon, a command that the universe could not ignore. Words are alive. They carry the energy of our beliefs, our emotions, and our expectations. When you speak positively about money, you plant seeds that the universe nurtures. When you speak negatively, you water weeds that choke your opportunities. And every day, every moment, you are speaking. Every thought you voice, every sentence you whisper, every word you allow to escape your lips is shaping the financial reality around you, whether you realize it or not. So, the next time you feel anxious about money, the next time you find yourself muttering, "I'll never get ahead," pause. Recognize that these words are not harmless, they are shaping your future. Then, take a deep breath and choose differently. Speak gratitude. Speak expectation. Speak abundance. I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. Say it aloud. Say it with feeling. Repeat it until your mind, your heart, and your spirit align. Watch how your life begins to shift. Even small words, spoken with belief, can ignite enormous change. The power of speech is subtle, yes, but it is relentless. It works while you sleep, while you work, while you live your life. It shapes reality in ways you cannot yet see. And the more intentional you become, the more conscious you are of the words you release into the world, the more your financial reality begins to mirror your declarations. Have you ever noticed how your mood changes when you truly appreciate something? Even something small, like the warmth of sunlight on your face, the smell of fresh coffee, or the smile of a stranger. Gratitude has a way of shifting your inner world. It turns what you have into enough, what feels scarce into something overflowing. And when it comes to money, this simple feeling, gratitude, is not just comforting. It is transformative. It is magnetic. It draws abundance to you in ways that logic, effort, or endless hustling never could. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Lisa. Lisa had always struggled with her finances. No matter how hard she worked, no matter how careful she was, it felt like money slipped through her fingers. One evening, exhausted and frustrated, she sat on her couch staring at a stack of bills. She felt the panic rising, the sense of lack pressing down on her chest. And then, almost like a whisper from her soul, she remembered something she had read. Gratitude is the magnet that attracts abundance. At first, she laughed. How could being thankful make any difference when her bank account was empty? But she was tired of feeling stuck, tired of living in worry. So, she tried it. She picked up a notebook and wrote down everything she was grateful for. Her small apartment that kept her warm, her old car that got her to work, the meals she had on the table, the friends who cared about her. And then she wrote a line that felt almost impossible. "Thank you for the money that is already on its way to me." She didn't know how it would arrive, only that she was opening herself to the possibility. The next morning, Lisa woke to find an email from a client she had nearly forgotten about. They were offering to pay her for a past project in full, right away. Later that day, a friend stopped by with a gift card for groceries. By the end of the week, a small unexpected check arrived in the mail. Lisa realized that the gratitude she had felt, so small and tentative at first, had shifted her energy. It had opened doors that worry had kept shut. Her life was responding not to her frantic effort, but to her thankful heart. Gratitude works like a magnet because it signals to the universe that you are ready to receive. Fear and complaint push abundance away. But thankfulness creates a kind of vibration, a signal that says, "I see what I have, and I am ready for more." Imagine you are standing in a dark room, and each time you express gratitude, a light flickers on. At first, it may be small, but as you keep thanking, acknowledging, appreciating, the room fills with light. And in that light, opportunities, ideas, and yes, money, begin to appear. Consider the story of Robert, a man who had been out of work for months. He was sinking into despair, convinced that opportunities had dried up. One night, he decided to write a gratitude list before bed, not for what he had, but for what he wanted to attract. "Thank you for the work I am about to receive. Thank you for the clients who are coming to me now. Thank you for the abundance flowing into my life." It felt strange, almost like talking to an invisible friend. But he persisted. The next morning, a company he had applied to months ago called with an offer he hadn't even hoped for. Within days, more freelance opportunities arose. The act of being grateful had shifted something unseen. It aligned him with the flow of abundance he had been missing. Gratitude is not passive. It is not a soft, wishful hope. It is active, like planting seeds in fertile soil. Each expression of thanks nourishes your financial garden. It tells the universe that you are aware, awake, and receptive. And the universe, in turn, responds with the very things you need. Often, they come in ways that surprise you, in forms you could never have predicted. Perhaps a client sends a bonus, a friend offers a paying opportunity, a forgotten investment matures. These are the whispers of abundance answering your gratitude. Think about the difference between saying, "I am broke, I can't pay my bills," and saying, "I am thankful for the money I have and for the money that is coming to me." One statement locks your life in scarcity, while the other opens it to possibility. The words are simple, but the vibration they create is profound. It's the difference between walking into a room with your head down, seeing only obstacles, and walking in with your chest open, seeing doors waiting to be opened. I remember a man named Samuel. Samuel owned a small cafe that was barely making ends meet. Every day, he complained about his finances, his competitors, the slow trickle of customers. One evening, a mentor told him, "Samuel, you are speaking lack. Start speaking gratitude instead. Thank the universe for every customer, every sale, every opportunity." Skeptical, Samuel tried it. He began each morning by saying, "Thank you for the money coming into my cafe today. Thank you for the customers who will find joy here." Within weeks, he noticed subtle changes: loyal customers returning more frequently, new visitors asking about his menu, even a local blogger writing a feature that brought in more foot traffic. Samuel realized that gratitude had shifted not just his attitude but the energy around his cafe. Abundance was no longer a dream, it was becoming reality. Gratitude also changes the way we perceive the money we already have. It turns every coin, every note, every payment into a source of satisfaction rather than stress. When we are thankful, we stop focusing on what we lack and start appreciating what is already present. That shift in focus creates a powerful ripple effect. It is like a magnet attracting more and more pieces of metal. The more thankful you are, the more abundance sticks to you. Even in moments of struggle, gratitude can be transformative. I have seen people, sitting in nearly empty apartments with overdue bills, write down the smallest things they could thank the universe for: the roof over their head, the food they managed to scrape together, a friend who called to check in. And slowly, almost miraculously, opportunities began to appear. A call from a job recruiter, a neighbor offering extra work, an unexpected gift in the mail. The energy they created through gratitude became the very force that moved scarcity away and allowed abundance in. The truth is, gratitude is not just about receiving. It is about opening your heart. When your heart is open, energy flows freely. When your heart is closed with fear, doubt, or complaint, energy stagnates. Money is simply energy, and like any energy, it moves toward receptivity. Gratitude creates that receptivity. It is a declaration that says, "I see, I acknowledge, I am ready for more." And the universe answers every time, often in ways that surprise you, delight you, and remind you that life is infinitely abundant. Have you ever stood at the edge of a decision, a choice, or an opportunity and felt your heart pound with fear? That moment when everything inside you screams, "This might not work," yet a tiny voice whispers, "What if it does?" That tiny voice is faith, the invisible engine that moves mountains, the quiet force that opens doors doubt keeps tightly shut. Faith is not just a nice idea. It is the single most powerful ingredient in transforming possibility into reality, especially when it comes to money and abundance. I want to tell you about a woman named Eliza. Eliza had been dreaming of starting her own business for years. She had a clear vision, a small boutique that offered handmade crafts, a cozy place that felt like home. She saved every penny she could, but the funds were never enough. Each time she tried to take the leap, her mind flooded with doubt. What if no one comes? What if I lose everything? What if I fail? For weeks, she did nothing. Fear had frozen her dreams in place. Then one night, she read a quote by Florence Scovel Shinn. "Faith is the great magnet that draws to you all that belongs to you." Something clicked inside her. She realized that it wasn't her lack of money or resources that was holding her back. It was her doubt. Doubt had been her invisible wall, keeping opportunity from entering her life. That night, she made a decision. She would act as if success was inevitable. She would speak as if her business were already thriving. She would believe before she saw. The next morning, Eliza began a new ritual. Every day, she said aloud, "I have faith in the success of my business. I trust that the resources I need are coming to me now." At first, it felt awkward, almost silly. But she persisted. And little by little, doors began to open. A supplier she had contacted months ago suddenly offered her a generous discount. A friend connected her with a potential investor who had been looking for a project exactly like hers. Customers began inquiring even before the shop officially opened. All of this, Eliza realized, came not from luck, not from extraordinary effort, but from the simple act of believing, of expecting, of having faith. Faith is like a key. Doubt keeps the door locked. Worry rattles the doorknob but does nothing. Belief turns the key and steps boldly into the room where opportunity waits. And here's the secret. The universe does not reward hesitancy. It responds to clarity of intention, to unwavering expectation. When you believe, you align yourself with the flow of life. When you doubt, you push it away. Consider a man named Marcus. Marcus had been unemployed for months, sending out resumes and hoping for callbacks that never came. Every rejection chipped away at his confidence. One evening, frustrated, he sat on his couch and muttered, "Nothing ever works out for me." Then he remembered something his mentor had said. Faith is not about knowing the path. It's about trusting that the path will appear as you walk it. Marcus decided to try it. He told himself, "I trust that the right opportunity is already on its way to me. I believe that I will receive it now." Within 24 hours, Marcus received a phone call from a company he had applied to weeks before. They were offering him a position that matched his skills perfectly, with a salary beyond what he had hoped for. He realized, in that moment, that the difference between despair and success was not chance. It was faith. Faith had opened the door that doubt had kept closed, and the universe had responded. Faith is not blind. It is not a wish whispered in the dark. It is an active, living energy that transforms how you perceive the world. It shapes your actions, your decisions, your energy, and ultimately, your results. When you expect abundance, you notice opportunities that others overlook. When you act with faith, people respond differently to you. Doors open where walls once stood. Ideas flow where blocks existed. And money, which is simply energy, follows the current of your belief. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you are standing by a riverbank, a boat waiting to take you across to the other side. Your dream, your goal, your financial breakthrough. Doubt is like standing frozen on the shore, watching the boat drift, saying, "What if I can't row? What if it capsizes?" Faith, on the other hand, is stepping into the boat, oars in hand, confident that the river will carry you. The river doesn't judge. It responds to movement, to intent, to the courage of your belief. Those who step forward with faith find themselves on the other side. Those who linger in doubt remain on the shore. I've seen countless people transform their financial reality simply by choosing faith over fear. A woman named Naomi had been praying for a raise for years, yet her boss never seemed to notice her value. She decided to shift her approach. Each morning, she declared, "I have faith that I am fully recognized and rewarded for my contributions. The money I deserve is coming to me now." Within weeks, her performance caught the attention of upper management, and she received not just a raise, but a promotion she had thought impossible. Her belief had changed her energy, and her energy had changed her circumstances. Faith also works in ways that surprise us. Sometimes, you may not see the immediate result, yet opportunities are lining behind the scenes. A friend of mine, Thomas, had been struggling to start his online business. He had technical challenges, marketing doubts, and financial pressure. He continued to declare his faith daily. "I believe my business is growing and attracting the right clients now." Months later, a sudden viral post brought a flood of clients, far exceeding his expectations. The seed of faith he planted had been working silently, unseen, until it bore fruit. Faith is contagious too. When you operate with belief, those around you are drawn to your energy. Investors, clients, partners, they sense your certainty. They trust your vision. Doubt, in contrast, repels. Fear and hesitation signal scarcity, uncertainty, and risk. But faith signals confidence, clarity, and opportunity. It magnetizes resources, guidance, and yes, money. Even in moments of uncertainty, faith is the bridge. It allows you to act before proof appears, to invest your energy in possibilities rather than obstacles. It is the difference between waiting for a miracle and becoming a miracle yourself. Every story of sudden financial breakthrough, unexpected wealth, or creative opportunity begins with faith, a belief so strong that it moves you forward even when the evidence seems absent. And here's the beautiful part. Faith doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require a flawless plan, endless funds, or total certainty. It only requires the willingness to say, "I believe. I trust. I expect." Say it aloud, repeat it, feel it in your bones. Let it become your guiding rhythm, your heartbeat in pursuit of abundance. The universe will respond, sometimes gently, sometimes dramatically, but always in alignment with the energy of your belief.
There is a magic in simplicity.
Sometimes, we think that manifesting wealth, attracting opportunities, or changing our financial reality must be complicated, long formulas, strict rules, endless strategies.
But the truth is far simpler.
Florence Scovel Shinn teaches that the most powerful command is not elaborate, not mystical, not complicated. It is a single, heartfelt declaration. I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now.
Just these words,
spoken with intention, with feeling, with belief, they become a key that unlocks the doors of possibility.
I want you to imagine a man named Anthony.
Anthony was drowning in bills. His credit card debt was overwhelming, his rent overdue, and every day felt like a battle against an invisible current pulling him under. He had tried budgeting, working extra hours, even selling things he loved, but nothing seemed to make a lasting difference. One evening, he stumbled upon Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching. He read the command aloud and paused, unsure what it meant. Could simply saying, I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now really change anything?
He decided to try.
That night, he spoke the words quietly, almost as a whisper. The first time, it felt awkward, almost silly. But he repeated them with sincerity, imagining the abundance as if it were already flowing into his life.
By morning, his phone rang.
A friend had sent him a small loan without even being asked, just because he knew Anthony needed help. Later that week, a forgotten tax refund arrived in his mailbox. Within days, an unexpected freelance opportunity appeared, paying more than he could have anticipated. Anthony realized that the simple command, spoken with faith and gratitude, had shifted the entire current of his financial life. The beauty of this command lies in its simplicity and immediacy. Notice that it doesn't say, I hope to get money someday, or, I want wealth in the future. It says, I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. It is present tense. It is a declaration that abundance is already moving toward you. It bypasses fear, hesitation, and logic, speaking directly to the unseen forces of life. Imagine walking into a room filled with doors, each representing opportunity.
Some are small, some are grand, some hidden in plain sight.
Doubt, worry, and fear act like locks, keeping those doors closed. But when you speak this command, it is like handing a golden key to every door. Suddenly, they swing open.
You begin to see possibilities that were invisible before.
Clients, jobs, unexpected gifts, creative ideas. They appear because you have aligned yourself with the flow of abundance. Let me share another story. A young woman named Clara had been struggling to start her photography business. She had talent, passion, and determination, but opportunities seemed scarce. Then she decided to use the command. Every morning, she said aloud, I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. Sometimes she whispered it while making coffee, sometimes she repeated it before bed. Within 24 hours, a client she had hoped to work with for months reached out with a paid project. Then another inquiry arrived, followed by a referral from someone she had photographed casually. Clara realized that speaking the command was like tuning herself to the frequency of abundance. Opportunities began to resonate with her energy.
It is important to understand why this works.
The command combines two of the most powerful forces, gratitude and expectation. By giving thanks, you create a vibration of appreciation, signaling that you are receptive, that you recognize the good already present. By speaking in the present tense, you communicate belief, expectation, and certainty. The mind and spirit do not distinguish between actual experience and fully believed declaration. When you say it with feeling, the universe responds as if it is already true. You might think, but what if I don't feel abundant? What if I feel desperate, empty, or worried?
That is exactly why the command works.
You don't need to wait until your circumstances are perfect.
You don't need proof or visible evidence.
You simply need to speak it, and let the words shift your energy.
Consider the analogy of planting a seed in winter. You may not see growth immediately. The soil may seem cold and lifeless.
But beneath the surface, the seed begins to stir, responding to the conditions you have prepared. The command is your planting of that seed, your acknowledgement that abundance is on its way. I remember a man named Henry. Henry had been unemployed for months and was deeply worried about paying rent. A friend suggested he try the command, almost jokingly. Say it, Henry. See what happens. That night, Henry whispered, I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now. The next day, He received a call from a temporary agency he had applied to weeks before, offering him a placement that paid more than he expected. Within a few days, another opportunity came from a friend who needed help with a side project. Henry's financial situation began to turn around, not because of luck, not because of extra effort, but because he had spoken a simple command with faith and gratitude.
What makes this command so powerful is also its accessibility. Anyone can say it.
You don't need special training, rituals, or complicated techniques.
You don't need to know how the money will come, only that it is coming.
This command allows you to release control, release worry, and step into trust. It transforms the act of seeking into the act of receiving. By focusing on giving thanks for what is already on its way, you create space for abundance to manifest in ways you could never plan.
Think about the last time someone thanked you sincerely. Didn't it make you want to give more?
Didn't it make you feel seen, appreciated, and powerful?
Gratitude works the same way with the universe.
When you give thanks for the abundance coming to you, you activate a flow.
You signal readiness.
You signal that you are aligned, receptive, and aware. And the universe cannot help but respond. The command is also a call to present moment awareness. It teaches you to notice, appreciate, and acknowledge the blessings already around you.
Perhaps you don't have everything you want, but you have something.
And when you give thanks for what you have, and for what is coming, you align yourself with abundance rather than scarcity. It is a subtle shift, but one with enormous consequences. Even small, consistent use of this command can create dramatic results. A friend named Sophia would say it silently while brushing her teeth, repeating it on her drive to work, whispering it before bed. Within days, unexpected payments arrived, clients reached out, and financial stress began to lift. She described it as a gentle but unstoppable current, carrying opportunities, money, and creative ideas toward her. It was the command, simple and repeated, that made the shift possible. Have you ever watched a musician play a song, feeling every note, every pause, every crescendo, and realize that their belief in the music makes it come alive? That's the essence of action combined with belief, doing something with full intention, fully alive, fully felt. It is not enough to simply say words or harbor wishes silently in your mind. True manifestation, true abundance, comes when action meets belief. When your words, your energy, and your movement align, the universe responds like a tide rushing in, unstoppable and full.
Let me tell you about a man named Victor. Victor had been dreaming of launching his own tech startup for years.
He had ideas, plans, and sketches, but each time he tried to take action, doubt crept in. What if it fails?
What if I lose everything?
What if I'm not good enough? Those doubts kept him frozen, trapped in planning and wishing without moving forward. Then, he came across the idea that action without belief is empty, but belief without action is powerless. The truth hit him. He needed to combine the two.
The next morning, Victor set out a simple routine.
First, he declared his intention aloud. I now give thanks for the success and abundance flowing into my business. He didn't just whisper it. He said it with feeling, letting every word carry faith, excitement, and expectation. Then he acted. He sent emails to potential investors, refined his pitch, and reached out to collaborators he had been too hesitant to contact. Within 24 hours, one of those emails returned with a positive response, a seed of funding for his idea. The next week, another investor showed interest, and a client he had long hoped for finally agreed to a pilot project. Victor realized that it wasn't just the action, and it wasn't just the belief, it was the combination, the alignment of both, that accelerated results beyond what he could have imagined. Action without belief is like pushing a car uphill without believing it will move. You may get tired, frustrated, and defeated. Belief without action is like dreaming of a car at the top of the hill while sitting at the bottom. You may visualize it endlessly, but you never arrive. When action meets belief, it's like stepping on the accelerator while having full faith in the road ahead. Momentum builds, and results appear with astonishing speed.
I remember a woman named Alicia.
Alicia had been struggling to grow her small handmade jewelry business. She had talent, but sales were slow, and she felt invisible in a crowded market. She read about Florence Scovel Shinn's principle of speaking commands with gratitude and belief, but she went one step further.
She decided to act with full feeling.
Every morning, she said her command aloud with energy, excitement, and conviction. Then she took concrete steps, posting her work on social media, reaching out to local boutiques, attending networking events. Within days, her pieces started selling faster than ever, orders doubled, and she even got a feature in a local magazine. The combination of belief and deliberate action had turned a slow trickle of success into a roaring current.
Think about it in everyday terms. Imagine planting a seed.
Believing the seed will grow is essential, but if you never water it, give it sunlight, or tend the soil, it will wither. Acting without belief is like scattering seeds randomly in the wind. You may get lucky, but most likely, nothing will grow. Speaking the command, feeling it, and then taking deliberate, aligned action is like planting seeds in rich soil, watering them, giving them sunlight, and watching them sprout into a flourishing garden.
That is exactly how manifestation works.
Even small actions, when combined with belief, can produce enormous results. I know a man named Daniel who had been hoping to attract freelance clients. He spoke the command each morning, but he also made a list of 10 people to reach out to every day. At first, it felt tedious, but he continued, believing that opportunities were already on their way. Within a week, 2 clients responded positively, and within a month, he had multiple recurring projects. The key was not just speaking words, not just believing, they worked together, a force multiplier. Belief adds fuel to action. It transforms ordinary steps into powerful moves. Have you ever noticed that when you truly believe in something, your energy changes? Your confidence rises, your intuition sharpens, doors open that were invisible before, and people respond differently to you. That is the magic of combining belief with action. It makes the ordinary extraordinary. Even when results don't appear immediately, action combined with belief keeps momentum alive. There is a story of a young man named Marco who wanted to attract a promotion at work. He had been overlooked for months, and frustration was building.
He decided to act with faith.
Every morning, he said aloud, I now give thanks for the recognition and abundance coming to me now. Then he worked with diligence and creativity, offering solutions his boss had never seen before. Weeks later, a management position opened unexpectedly, and Marco's consistent actions, combined with belief, positioned him perfectly to receive it.
Momentum created opportunity.
This principle works not only for large, life-changing manifestations but also for smaller, everyday results. Even a simple command for money or opportunity gains power when paired with action. A friend of mine, Nina, wanted extra income to pay off credit card debt. She spoke her command each morning, but she also applied for side projects, shared her skills on freelance platforms, and followed up on leads. Within days, small payments began flowing in, and within weeks, her debt was under control. Speaking with belief alone may have shifted her energy, but acting made the results tangible, real, and accelerating. In essence, action plus belief is the formula for turning intention into reality. Speaking your command with feeling is belief made audible, a vibration sent into the universe. Acting in alignment with that belief gives it form and direction. When both are present, the world begins to respond in kind. Opportunities, money, and abundance flow naturally because you have aligned your internal state with external movement. Have you ever caught yourself saying, I'll be wealthy someday, or I'll start living fully when I have more money? That someday is a dangerous word. It delays your life, your joy, your sense of possibility. It whispers, not now, later, maybe, and in doing so, it convinces you that abundance is always just out of reach. But the truth is startling, liberating, and exhilarating. Abundance is available now.
Right this moment.
The universe does not wait for your permission or your perfect timing. It responds the instant you declare your readiness, the instant you speak your command with clarity and belief.
Let me tell you about a woman named Rachel.
Rachel had spent years thinking she would only be financially free after landing a big promotion. She believed she had to wait, that wealth was something that came in the future, slowly, like a train inching toward the station. Then she learned about the principle that abundance exists in the present, that opportunity flows when we recognize it, claim it, and act with faith. One night, she whispered, I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now.
She didn't hesitate. She didn't wait for her paycheck, for the promotion, or for the right moment. She spoke it as though she were already receiving it. Within 24 hours, a surprising email arrived.
A freelance client from months ago needed urgent work, offering a payment that exceeded her expectations. The next day, an old friend called, offering a project she had never imagined. Rachel realized that abundance had been there all along. She had only been looking in the wrong place, thinking it needed to arrive later. By declaring it now, she opened the door that had always been waiting. Abundance is not a distant goal. It is a present reality that responds to your awareness and your command. Imagine walking through a room filled with gifts. Some are wrapped, some are open, some hidden in corners. If you don't claim them, if you tell yourself, "I'll wait for the right time," those gifts remain untouched. Speak your command, believe it, and act with gratitude. And suddenly, the gifts begin to present themselves. Opportunities you never saw, money you didn't expect, ideas you hadn't imagined. They appear because you aligned yourself with the present flow of abundance. I remember a man named Thomas. Thomas had been waiting for a promotion for 2 years, convinced that his financial breakthrough would come only with a new title. One evening, he read Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching and realized that abundance doesn't wait for a title, a job, or a milestone. It is available now. That night, he spoke the command aloud. "I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now." The very next day, a side project he had ignored for months turned into a significant opportunity, providing more income than he had imagined. That moment was a revelation. Abundance had been accessible all along, he just hadn't claimed it. Abundance is like sunlight. You don't have to chase it or wait for it to appear. It is shining now, everywhere, waiting for you to open your hands, open your heart, and receive. When you declare your readiness, when you speak your command with faith and gratitude, it illuminates hidden paths, reveals opportunities, and brings resources that have been flowing toward you all along. Even when your circumstances seem bleak, abundance is still present. I've met people in empty apartments, facing eviction, bills piling up, yet when they spoke the command with clarity and faith, doors opened in ways they could not have predicted. A small unexpected payment arrived. A friend offered assistance. A new idea sparked a business venture. The key was not waiting for perfect conditions. The key was recognizing that abundance exists in this moment, waiting to be claimed. Imagine sitting at a table, and in front of you are plates of food you didn't know were there. You've been fasting, thinking that you must wait until tomorrow, until someone serves you, until you earn the right. But the food is here now. You only need to reach out, take it, and give thanks. That is exactly what happens with abundance when you speak your command and believe. You are already in the room. The resources are already available. You just need to recognize, receive, and act. Opportunities appear when you command them because the universe does not distinguish between your fear, hesitation, or procrastination. It responds to clarity, expectation, and gratitude. The moment you declare your readiness for abundance, the invisible forces begin to shift. A client calls, a payment arrives, a new idea sparks, a door opens. And once you begin to notice these small miracles, momentum builds. The current of abundance grows stronger, flowing steadily toward you. Think about the stories you've heard today. Rachel receiving unexpected projects, Anthony finding financial relief, Clara's photography business flourishing, Victor launching his startup. All of them discovered that abundance was available now. They did not wait for perfect timing, they did not ask for permission, they did not doubt the flow. They spoke, believed, acted, and received. And the universe responded instantly. Even small declarations of readiness can trigger enormous shifts. A friend named Mia had been hoping for extra income to cover unexpected expenses. She whispered the command each morning with full intention, "I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now." Within hours, a past client reached out, needing a rush project, and she earned more than she had hoped. That tiny act of claiming abundance in the present had created results faster than she ever imagined. The lesson is clear. Abundance is never in the future. It is present, waiting, accessible, and ready to flow. You do not need to wait for promotions, for payday, for perfect timing, or for someone to validate your worth. By speaking the command, by believing in its truth, by feeling it deeply, you open the floodgates. Money, opportunities, gifts, and creative solutions begin to arrive. The universe is always responsive, always listening, always ready to provide. And the more you practice this, the more you see that abundance is not a series of rare events. It is a constant flow. It is always available, always moving toward you, always waiting for you to claim it. By recognizing it in the present, speaking it with faith, and acting with alignment, you step into a life where waiting is no longer necessary, where abundance is your companion, your resource, and your reality. Now, listen closely, because this is where it all comes together. The abundant life you dream of is not somewhere in the future. It is not someday, it is not when the timing is right. It is available now. Right this moment. Right here.
Right now.
Every second you wait, every second you hesitate, is a second that abundance is ready to flow, but cannot, because you have not claimed it.
So speak it. Say it aloud. Say it with feeling.
I now give thanks for the abundant supply that comes to me now.
Say it every morning. Say it every night.
Say it when fear whispers in your ear.
Say it when doubt tries to creep back.
Say it until your words have power, until your belief becomes unstoppable, until your life bends in alignment with your dreams.
Act. Take that step. Make that call. Send that email. Follow that inspiration. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for permission. Move now.
Because action without faith is empty, and faith without action is silent. But when faith meets action, mountains move.
Doors open. Miracles arrive.
Opportunities appear.
Money flows.
Life changes, instantly, dramatically, undeniably.
Feel it. Feel it in your heart. Feel it in your body. Feel it in every cell of your being. Abundance is not a concept. It is energy. It is real. It is yours.
And the moment you claim it, the universe moves to meet you. Remember this, you are not waiting for abundance. Abundance is waiting for you. You are not chasing money. Money is racing toward you. You are not hoping for opportunity. Opportunity is racing to your doorstep. So go.
Speak it. Feel it. Claim it. Act on it.
And watch as your world transforms in ways you never thought possible. And never forget, the moment you command it, the moment you believe it, the moment you act on it, you are no longer waiting for life to happen.
You are creating it. Say it. Believe it. Receive it.
Because abundance is here.
Abundance is now. Abundance is yours.
You know, we talk about banks like they're the ultimate source of security. We trust them to hold our money, to keep it safe, to give it to us when we need it. But have you ever walked into a bank without an account? They'll smile politely, but they won't hand you a single coin. Faith works the same way. God is the bank of heaven. Unlimited resources. Infinite supply. No overdraft fees. No interest rates. No recession. But there's one rule. You can only withdraw with one thing, faith. And that's where most people struggle. We think we believe, until life tests us. We say, God will provide. But the moment the bills pile up or the diagnosis comes in, our confidence evaporates like steam from hot tea. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You walk into a bank holding nothing but a check. That check is your prayer. It's your request, your need, your dream. But the cashier doesn't look at the check first. They look at your account balance. And in the bank of heaven, your faith balance is what matters. See, doubt is like writing a check from an empty account. It bounces before it even reaches heaven's desk. Faith, on the other hand, is knowing the funds are there, even if you haven't seen them yet. It's walking out of that bank with your pockets empty but your heart full. Because you know the deposit is on its way. Some of you have been praying for things for years. But you're still standing outside the bank. Because deep down, you don't believe you're worthy to walk in. Listen to me. In the kingdom of God, the door is always open. Your account is under your name. The moment you chose to believe, heaven started writing deposits you can't even imagine. But here's the catch, faith isn't passive. It's not sitting at home saying, I hope something changes. It's taking steps as if the answer is already yours. Think of a farmer. He plants seeds, waters them, protects them from weeds. He doesn't say, well, I'll wait until I see something before I work. No, he works because he knows the harvest is coming. That's faith. When you operate like this, you stop asking if God will provide. And you start thanking Him before the answer shows up. Do you know what happens then? Your withdrawals get faster. The gap between asking and receiving starts to close. Because you're finally using the right currency. I'm not saying you won't face delays. Even in a bank, sometimes the funds are processing. But just because you can't see the transfer doesn't mean it isn't happening. Some of the greatest miracles in history came after the longest waits. Abraham waited decades for the promise of a son. Joseph spent years in prison before ruling Egypt. Their faith didn't shrink in the waiting, it grew. And when their withdrawals came, they were bigger than anything they could have imagined. Right now, you might be standing at heaven's counter with a request in hand. Don't walk away just because you don't see the deposit yet. Hold your ground. Smile at the cashier. And say, I know it's in my account, and I'm here to collect. Because the bank of heaven never runs dry. And the check of faith never bounces. So the question is, what are you walking in to withdraw today? In this video, you'll discover the powerful truths that can change the way you see faith forever. You'll see why God's resources never run out, and how you can access them. You'll understand the real reason doubt keeps your blessings from reaching you. You'll learn how your faith balance affects how quickly your prayers come to life. You'll uncover why faith always moves first, even before the answer shows up. You'll find out how gratitude before receiving can actually speed up your blessings. You'll realize that delays are never denials, and why the wait often leads to bigger miracles. And finally, you'll discover how to approach God's promises with the bold confidence of someone who knows their account in heaven is already full. Why God's resources never run out, and how you can access them. Let me tell you something that might shift the way you think forever. Imagine walking into the largest bank you've ever seen. The doors are made of gold. The floors shine like crystal. And behind the counter is not a teller in a suit, but the one who spoke the universe into existence. His vault isn't filled with stacks of cash or piles of coins, it's overflowing with peace, healing, strength, joy, and provision. There are blessings stacked higher than you can see, each one labeled with a name. And the breathtaking truth? There is no low balance here. God's resources never run out. He never looks at your request and says, sorry, the supply is short this month. The Bank of Heaven does not operate on the world's economy. It doesn't crash when the stock market crashes. It doesn't shrink when inflation rises. It's backed by the Creator himself, whose word holds planets in place and whose breath gave life to you. But here's the catch, you don't walk into this bank with cash in hand. You walk in with faith. That's the currency. Hebrews 11 verse 6 says, without faith it is impossible to please God, and it's also impossible to make a withdrawal from his storehouse without it. Think about it. If you went to a bank and stood in line all day but never filled out a withdrawal slip, you'd walk away with nothing. Not because the bank was empty, but because you didn't take the action that allows you to receive. Faith is your withdrawal slip. It's you saying, God, I believe you already have what I need, and I'm here to take hold of it. Most people get tripped up here because they confuse asking with begging. Begging says, I hope you'll give me something if you're in the mood. Faith says, you've already promised it, and I'm simply receiving what's mine. It's not arrogance, it's alignment with his promises. When your child comes to the dinner table and asks for food, they're not wondering if you've locked up the fridge and forgotten them. They know it's yours to give and theirs to receive. That's how God wants you to approach him, not as a stranger hoping for charity, but as his child, fully convinced he has more than enough for you. I remember hearing about a woman who had lost her job, her savings, and her sense of security. She said, I kept thinking God was busy with bigger problems. I thought I'd wait until he had time for me. But God isn't like a human bank teller, processing one transaction at a time. His resources aren't divided. If he blesses someone else, it doesn't decrease what's available to you. That woman decided to change her prayer from Lord, if you can help me, to Lord, I thank you that you already have a job prepared for me, and I receive it now by faith. Within weeks, she got an offer that paid more than her previous role. She didn't tap into something new, she simply accessed what had been there all along. The trouble is, our eyes lie to us. We look at our circumstances and assume that God's vault must be empty because our hands are empty. But that's not how faith works. Faith looks at the empty hands and says, this is temporary. Faith believes the supply exists even when you can't see it yet. In fact, that's the point. Romans 8 verse 24 reminds us, hope that is seen is no hope at all. If you already had it, you wouldn't need faith. God's system is designed so you have to trust him before you see the answer, not after. Picture a farmer holding a bag of seed. He doesn't wait for the crops to sprout before believing they'll grow. He plants the seed and acts like the harvest is guaranteed, because he knows the law of sowing and reaping. Faith works the same way. You plant trust in the soil of God's promises, and you expect the harvest, even when the field still looks bare. That's how you make a withdrawal from the Bank of Heaven. You act in confidence before the blessing appears. One of the biggest lies the enemy whispers is, maybe God is holding back because you don't deserve it. But the truth is, none of us could ever deserve what God gives. It's grace from start to finish. Your faith doesn't earn his resources, it simply positions you to receive them. Imagine the ocean stretching beyond the horizon. That's God's supply. You can stand on the shore with a teaspoon of faith and take a little, or you can bring a bucket of faith and take more. The ocean doesn't change, it's the size of your container that determines what you walk away with. And here's where it gets personal. There are things you've been praying for, maybe for years. And it feels like heaven is silent. But what if the vault is already full with your name on the blessing, and God is waiting for you to walk in with confidence and take it? James 1 verse 6 warns us, when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. Doubt is like handing the teller a withdrawal slip, then snatching it back before they can process it. You've got to leave it on the counter and say, I'm not leaving without what I came for. I've met people who live as if God is stingy, as if every prayer is a lottery ticket and most of them won't win. But faith says the opposite. It says God's supply is already set aside for you, and He's inviting you to come boldly. Not timidly. Not halfway. Boldly. Because you're not trying to twist His arm, you're cashing in on His word. And the more you practice this, the more you'll see withdrawals showing up in your life, answered prayers, unexpected breakthroughs, peace in the middle of storms. When you truly grasp that God's resources never run out, your prayer life changes. You stop saying, Lord, if you can, and start saying, Lord, I thank you that you will. You stop hesitating at the door of the vault and start walking in like you belong there. And you do belong there. Not because of your merit, but because you're His child. And children have full access to their Father's house. The vault is still open. The shelves are still full. And God is still saying, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. Not because He might run out tomorrow, but because He never runs out at all. And the sooner you believe that, the sooner you'll start making withdrawals you didn't even know were waiting for you. The real reason doubt keeps your blessings from reaching you. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you walk into a bank with a check in your hand. On that check is the exact amount you've been waiting for, a life-changing sum. You step up to the counter, hand it over, and the teller smiles. But before they can process it, you snatch it back, saying, I'm not sure this is real. You fold it up, stick it in your pocket, and walk out. That's exactly what doubt does. It's not that the resources weren't there. It's not that the bank refused you. It's that you withdrew your own transaction before it could clear. Spiritually, doubt is like writing a check from an empty account. It looks like something, but it has no power to deliver. See, faith and doubt can't live in the same space. Faith is an open channel. God's blessings flow freely when it's clear. Doubt clogs the pipe. Think of it like water running through a hose. Faith keeps the pressure steady, the stream constant. But every time doubt shows up, it's like bending the hose in half. The water doesn't stop existing, it's still in the source, but it's not reaching you. That's why James 1 verses 6-7 warns us plainly. The one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. It's not because God is cruel. It's because doubt is the very thing that blocks what He's already prepared for you. Doubt often feels harmless at first. It starts with a little whisper. What if it doesn't work out? What if God isn't listening? What if this prayer is too big? You think it's just a passing thought, but spiritually, it's like termites in the foundation. Left unchecked, it will eat away at the structure of your faith until there's nothing strong enough to hold up your request. And here's the subtle danger. You can pray with your lips and doubt with your heart at the same time. You can say, Lord, I believe you'll heal me, while secretly rehearsing all the reasons it probably won't happen. That's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You won't get anywhere. I once heard a story about a man who needed rain for his crops. He prayed fervently, telling God he trusted Him. The next day, his neighbor asked, Are you ready for the rain? The man laughed nervously and said, I doubt it's coming anytime soon. His neighbor smiled and replied, That's why I see no bucket by your door. That cut deep. Because faith doesn't just pray, it prepares. And doubt doesn't just question, it stalls your preparation until you stop expecting anything at all. Doubt has a way of disguising itself as being realistic. People say, I'm not doubting, I'm just being practical. But in God's kingdom, practicality without faith is just fear wearing a mask. Abraham didn't become the father of nations by being realistic about his old age. Noah didn't build an ark because the forecast showed rain. They acted on God's word without having any physical proof it would come true. That's the posture that moves heaven. Doubt, on the other hand, constantly demands proof before action, and that's the opposite of how God works. Hebrews 11 verse 1 says faith is the evidence of things not seen, not the evidence of things already proven. When you doubt, you give the enemy legal ground to interfere. He can't stop God's blessings from being created, but he can make you let go of them. It's like a delivery truck pulling up with a package that's already paid for. The driver knocks, but you refuse to open the door because you're convinced it's a scam. The package goes back to the warehouse, not because it wasn't yours, but because you wouldn't receive it. Doubt is you refusing to sign for what God already sent. This is why Jesus spoke so strongly against it. In Mark 11 verse 23, he said, "If anyone says to this mountain, 'Be removed and cast into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart but believes that what he says will be done, it will be done for him." Notice the requirement, does not doubt in his heart. That's not about never having a fleeting question, it's about refusing to let that question take root. You can't always control the birds that fly over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. In the same way, you can't always stop doubt from knocking, but you can refuse to let it live in your mind. Some people think doubt is just a mental struggle, but it's also deeply emotional. It's tied to past disappointments. Maybe you prayed before and it didn't happen the way you hoped. Now, without even realizing it, you've built a protective wall around your heart. You pray, but you leave a back door open so you won't be too hurt if nothing changes. The problem is, that back door also lets the blessing slip right back out. Faith requires closing every escape route for your fear. It says, "I've burned the bridge to doubt, I'm not going back." Think of Peter walking on the water toward Jesus. As long as his focus was on the Lord, he defied every law of nature. But the moment he looked at the wind and waves, fear slipped in, and he began to sink. The water didn't suddenly become less solid under his feet, the power was the same. The only change was his focus. That's exactly how doubt works. The blessing doesn't lose its power, you just stop walking in alignment with it. So how do you fight doubt? You starve it and feed your faith. Faith comes by hearing the word of God, not just hearing it once, but over and over until it becomes louder than your fear. You surround yourself with testimonies, reminders, and promises that build your confidence. You speak the answer out loud until it feels more real than the problem. Every time doubt whispers, you answer it with truth. God is not a man that he should lie, Numbers 23:19. He who promised is faithful, Hebrews 10 verse 23. The truth is, blessings often start moving toward you the moment you pray, but doubt acts like a roadblock. It's the spiritual equivalent of canceling your order halfway through shipping. The supply exists, the answer is ready, but your belief is what opens the door for it to reach you. And the enemy knows this, so he doesn't have to destroy your faith completely, he just has to weaken it enough for you to give up before the answer arrives. Doubt is sneaky. It will make you think waiting means God said no, when really, he's saying, "Hold on, I'm working something bigger than you think." And if you can learn to stand firm in the waiting, without letting doubt cut in, you'll see blessings show up that were already on the way the whole time. Because in God's kingdom, faith keeps the line open, but doubt hangs up the call before you hear the answer. And if you hang up too soon, you'll never know just how close the breakthrough really was. How your faith balance affects how quickly your prayers come to life. Imagine faith as a spiritual bank account. Every time you choose to believe, truly believe without wavering, you're making a deposit. Every time you act in trust, speak life over your situation, or step out on a promise from God, you're adding to that balance. And just like a financial account, the size of your balance determines how quickly and easily you can draw from it. A high faith balance means the moment you place a withdrawal request through prayer, the release happens swiftly. A low balance means there's a delay, not because God is withholding, but because your account doesn't yet have enough to cover the transaction. Picture two people praying for the same thing. One has been consistently feeding their spirit for years, reading scripture daily, declaring God's promises, acting in alignment with those promises, refusing to let doubt drain them. Their faith balance is strong, like a savings account that's been growing over time. The other prays only when trouble hits, hasn't invested much in knowing God's character, and lets fear eat away at their belief. Their faith account has just a few scattered deposits. Both may receive eventually, but the one with the higher faith balance often sees the answer manifest sooner, not because God loves them more, but because their account was already full enough to process the request. Think about it like this: when you have a healthy financial account, you can handle unexpected expenses immediately. You don't need to wait for a paycheck, you just draw from what's already there. Spiritually, the same is true. When your faith is built up, you can respond to challenges with confidence, and the spiritual transaction happens faster. But if your account is nearly empty, you might have to wait, build, and deposit enough belief before the answer can land in your life. This is why Jesus marveled at people with great faith. In Matthew 8, a Roman centurion came to him asking for healing for his servant. He didn't even need Jesus to come to his house, he believed a single word spoken would be enough. Jesus was astonished and said, "I have not found such great faith in all Israel." The centurion's faith balance was so high, the healing happened instantly. There was no hesitation, no spiritual processing time. His account was already overflowing. Now, here's where it gets deep. Faith balances can grow or shrink. Every time you choose to trust God instead of giving in to fear, you make a deposit. Every time you meditate on His promises and speak them into your situation, you're adding to that spiritual reserve. But every time you entertain doubt, complain, or act in a way that contradicts what you've been believing for, you make a withdrawal. And just like in the natural, too many withdrawals without deposits will eventually leave you in overdraft. Overdraft faith feels like praying but sensing nothing's moving. It's like asking for rain but holding no bucket, because deep down you don't expect it to come. It's praying for provision while speaking lack into your daily life. Those words, those doubts, they're constant withdrawals. Before long, even if heaven has released the answer, it can't clear into your life because the account it's trying to land in is empty. Let me give you a picture. Imagine God's blessings like parcels waiting at the post office. Faith is the claim ticket. The bigger your faith balance, the more claim tickets you hold. If you have many tickets, you can walk in and collect multiple packages immediately. But if you have none, you'll stand there with empty hands while your blessings sit unclaimed behind the counter. There's also a compounding interest in the faith world. Just as money grows faster with consistent deposits, faith grows stronger when it's practiced regularly. Start small. Believe God for something simple, like peace in your day or a minor need being met. When you see that prayer answered, your faith grows. That growth makes it easier to believe for something bigger next time. Eventually, your balance is so high that when you pray for a mountain to move, you're not waiting months to see it happen. You speak, and the shift begins almost immediately. But many people sabotage their faith balance without realizing it. They pray for healing, but then rehearse symptoms all day. They ask for financial provision, but speak about how money never seems to stick around. They trust God in the morning, then by afternoon are scrolling through worst-case scenarios online. Every one of those actions is a withdrawal. And withdrawals can eat away at deposits faster than we think. To raise your faith balance, you have to treat it like your most precious asset. Guard it. Protect it. Surround it with the right atmosphere. If you were trying to save money, you wouldn't keep it in a place where thieves could easily take it. Spiritually, the same applies. Don't keep your faith in an environment filled with constant negativity, fear, and doubt. Spend time with people who speak life, who remind you of God's faithfulness, who testify of what He's done. Those conversations are like direct deposits into your account. Remember the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5? She'd suffered for 12 years, spent all she had on doctors, and still grew worse. But one day she heard about Jesus, and she began telling herself, "If I can just touch the hem of His garment, I will be healed." That inner declaration was her deposit. She kept feeding that belief until her account was so full, she pressed through the crowd, touched Him, and instantly received her miracle. That's the power of having reserves. When you've been depositing belief over time, you can make withdrawals in an instant, even in moments of crisis. You don't have to scramble to build faith when the storm hits, you've already been building it all along. Sometimes people wonder why their prayers seem slow to manifest. They think maybe God's saying no, or maybe the timing is off. And while timing does play a role, often it's simply that the faith balance isn't yet sufficient. This isn't about earning blessings through works, it's about alignment. God has already released everything you need, but your level of belief determines how quickly it can flow into your reality. Think of faith like an antenna. The stronger the antenna, the clearer and faster the signal comes through. A high faith balance keeps your antenna at full strength. There's no static, no interference. But a low balance produces weak reception. The answer might be broadcasting, but you're not tuned in enough to catch it clearly. You can start increasing your balance today. Set a habit of speaking God's promises over your life daily. Keep a journal of answered prayers, no matter how small. They are proof your deposits work. And when doubt comes, don't let it withdraw from your account without a fight. Replace it with truth immediately, just like you'd block a fraudulent transaction on your bank account. Because here's the beautiful thing, once your faith balance is high, the turnaround time for your prayers shrinks. The moment you speak, the moment you ask, the answer starts showing up, not because God suddenly moves faster, but because there's nothing in your account slowing down the release. And when you live like that, you stop seeing prayer as a desperate last resort and start seeing it as a confident transaction between you and a God whose resources never run dry. How gratitude before receiving can actually speed up your blessings. Gratitude before receiving is like watering the seed before it sprouts. Most people wait until the blessing shows up to say thank you, but in the spiritual realm, that's backward. In God's economy, gratitude isn't just a reaction, it's a catalyst. It's the signal to heaven that you already believe the blessing is yours, even if it hasn't yet arrived in your hands. When you thank God in advance, you're acting like someone who has already received the package, signed the delivery slip, and is simply waiting for it to be dropped at the door. That posture of faith speeds up the delivery, because it shows the spiritual system that there's no resistance, no doubt, no pending status in your heart. Imagine ordering something online. You get the confirmation email and immediately feel relief. You don't need to keep wondering if the company will send it. You might even start clearing space for it in your home before it arrives. That's what advanced gratitude does in the spirit. It clears space, it signals readiness, it aligns your inner environment to match the blessing's arrival. This is why Jesus often thanked God before the miracle happened. In John 11, standing in front of Lazarus's tomb, Jesus said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me," before Lazarus ever walked out. He wasn't hoping, he was certain. Gratitude was his seal of expectation. Seconds later, the miracle broke through. If you want your blessings to move faster, copy that pattern. Thank God now, while the situation still looks impossible. Gratitude before receiving works like a magnet in the unseen. Every thank you spoken in faith sends a signal that draws what you've asked for closer. Without gratitude, your energy often stays in lack mode, focused on what's missing. But gratitude flips you into abundance mode, where your focus is on God's ability, not your shortage. The shift in focus changes everything. It's like opening the gate so the blessing can walk straight in. Think about the 10 lepers in Luke 17. All were healed as they went, but only one returned to give thanks. Jesus didn't just commend him, he gave him something extra. Your faith has made you whole. The other 9 received healing, but this man received wholeness. Gratitude doesn't just speed up the blessing, it multiplies it. Let's make it personal. Picture 2 people praying for a new job. One spends every day after the prayer worrying about interviews, obsessing over competition, and wondering if God will come through. The other starts thanking God each morning as if the job is already theirs. They might say, "Thank you for the opportunities opening up for me. Thank you for favor with the right people. Thank you that the perfect position is on its way." That second person is living in the reality of the answered prayer before it manifests, which pulls it into the present faster. They're not trying to convince themselves, it's a genuine, steady thankfulness that feels as real as holding the offer letter in their hand. Gratitude in advance also shortens the wilderness time between asking and receiving. Sometimes the gap exists not because God is delaying, but because we're not yet aligned. When we're focused on what's missing, our hearts are tuned to lack, and lack attracts more lack. Gratitude shifts the dial to abundance, which aligns us with the frequency of the blessing. The more aligned we are, the quicker the manifestation can move from the unseen to the seen. Here's a picture. Blessings are like trains running on God's track. Faith is the ticket, and gratitude is the signal that tells the train it's safe to pull into your station. Without that signal, the train may slow, wait, or pass by. With it, it arrives on schedule, or even ahead of time. You can test this in small things. Try thanking God for something you haven't received yet, something simple. Watch how your mood changes, how your expectations lift, how your actions start preparing for it without you even forcing it. That preparation itself draws the blessing closer. For example, if you thank God for financial provision before it comes, you might find yourself making wiser money choices, opening new opportunities for that provision to land. Advanced gratitude is also a weapon against doubt. Doubt thrives on uncertainty. What if it doesn't happen? But you can't be deeply thankful and deeply doubtful at the same time. The moment you choose to thank God for something you don't yet see, you're actively starving doubt and feeding faith. And the more you feed faith, the faster your blessings flow. This isn't about pretending or faking joy. It's about truly believing God's word that all things are possible, and acting as if His promise is already done. Gratitude is the language of someone who trusts the character of the one they are asking. If you know the one you asked never fails, then thanking Him before the answer arrives feels as natural as breathing. Think of a farmer. He plants seeds and waters the ground before any green shoots appear. He thanks God for the harvest even while the soil still looks bare, because he knows how the system works. The harvest doesn't come faster because he's anxious. It comes faster because he's consistent in preparing and expecting. Your gratitude is the spiritual watering that accelerates the growth of what you've planted in prayer. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you make gratitude a daily rhythm, not just a crisis tool. The more you live in constant thanks for things unseen, the more your life becomes a magnet for miracles. Instead of waiting for life to give you reasons to be grateful, you give gratitude first, and life responds by giving you reasons to keep going. Even in situations where you've been waiting for years, advanced gratitude can reignite momentum. It changes your posture from "I'm still waiting" to "it's already mine, and I'm just walking toward it." That mental and spiritual shift often breaks delays you didn't even realize you were causing. There's a hidden law here: what you celebrate in advance, you accelerate in reality. When Paul and Silas were in prison in Acts 16, they prayed and sang hymns, praising God before there was any sign of release. Their gratitude-filled praise didn't just bring peace, it brought an earthquake that opened the prison doors. That's the force of thanking God before the breakthrough. It turns locked doors into open gates. If you start living this way, you'll notice something else. Even if the exact thing you asked for takes time, your heart will be so full along the way that you won't feel the delay in the same heavy way. Gratitude doesn't just speed up blessings. It changes the quality of the waiting season, making it lighter, more joyful, and more faith-filled. And that's often the moment the blessing arrives, when you've shifted so deeply into thankfulness that the line between before and after blurs, and what you prayed for seems to appear almost without warning. Delays are never denials, and why the wait often leads to bigger miracles. We live in a world that hates waiting. 2-day shipping feels slow, a buffering video feels unbearable, and unanswered prayers can feel like heaven has gone silent. But in God's kingdom, delays are never denials. What looks like nothing is happening is often when the most is happening, just not in the realm you can see yet. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are preparation rooms, construction zones, and growth chambers where God is building something far bigger than you asked for. Think of a child asking for a bicycle. A good parent doesn't always run to the store the next day. They may first make sure the child can ride safely, clear space in the garage, and find the perfect bike that will last for years. To the child, this feels like a frustrating delay. To the parent, it's wisdom, protection, and preparation. That's how God moves with us. When your prayer seems unanswered, it's not because He's ignoring you. It's because He's aligning every piece so that when it arrives, it's better, bigger, and safer than what you imagined. Joseph in the Bible had dreams of leadership at 17. He saw visions of people bowing before him, of a future filled with influence. But almost immediately after, life seemed to go the opposite way: betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. It took 13 long years before he became second in command in Egypt. Was God late? No. Every day of that delay was shaping Joseph's wisdom, leadership skills, and humility. By the time the palace doors opened, Joseph wasn't just able to handle the position, he was able to save nations. If God had answered Joseph's dream immediately, Joseph would have had the title without the maturity, and the very blessing could have destroyed him. That's the unseen mercy of delays. They protect you from premature blessings. A blessing given too soon can feel like a curse. How many people have prayed for sudden wealth, only to lose it because they lacked the discipline to manage it? How many have prayed for relationships, only to discover they weren't healed enough to keep them healthy? Sometimes God slows the answer because He loves you too much to watch you self-destruct. There's also the hidden truth that waiting often multiplies the miracle. In John 11, Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus was sick. Instead of rushing, Jesus waited 2 more days. By the time he arrived, Lazarus was dead. From their perspective, the delay was heartbreaking. If Jesus had come sooner, Lazarus would have lived. But because of the delay, they didn't just witness a healing, they witnessed a resurrection. The miracle grew in magnitude because of the wait. What they thought was the worst-case scenario was actually the setup for a greater display of God's power. That's what happens in your life, too. You might be asking for restoration in your finances, relationships, or health. You want the problem fixed, but God wants more than that. He wants transformation so complete that no one can doubt His hand was in it. And that kind of miracle takes time. The delay is the stage being built for the bigger story. In waiting seasons, God is also working behind the scenes on people and circumstances connected to your blessing. Maybe you're praying for a new job, and the perfect position exists, but the person currently in it hasn't yet moved on. Maybe you're asking for a home, but the right property hasn't yet come on the market. Maybe you're seeking healing in a relationship, but the other person isn't yet ready to receive it. The delay is God lining up the invisible puzzle pieces so that when it clicks into place, you step into something complete, not half-formed. And here's the part we often overlook: the wait changes you. It stretches your faith muscles, teaches you to lean on God instead of outcomes, and builds resilience that will carry you into your next season. Without that growth, you might enter the blessing still carrying the mindset of lack or fear, unable to sustain what you've received. The wait is where you learn to stand firm, to keep praising, to trust God's timing more than your own clock. David experienced this too. He was anointed king as a teenager but spent years tending sheep, running from Saul, and living in caves before he actually sat on the throne. Those hidden years were where God refined his courage, humility, and heart for worship. If David had skipped the caves, he might have been a king by title but not by character. The enemy loves to use delays to plant seeds of doubt. Maybe God isn't listening. Maybe you don't deserve it. Maybe you heard wrong. But faith answers back: if it's delayed, it's only because it's being perfected. Isaiah 60 verse 22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." The time being right isn't just about the calendar, it's about you being ready and the blessing being complete. It's like baking bread. You can't rush it by pulling it out of the oven too soon. Sure, it might look ready on the outside, but inside it will be doughy, unformed. The extra minutes in the heat are what make it strong enough to hold its shape. In the same way, your waiting season is God making sure the blessing is fully baked, so when it arrives, it's solid, lasting, and nourishing. Some of the greatest testimonies are born from long waits. Ask anyone who's held on for years and finally seen breakthrough. They'll tell you that the blessing felt sweeter, richer, and more miraculous than they ever imagined. They'll also tell you they wouldn't trade the journey, because it made them into someone new. So when you find yourself in a delay, instead of asking why is this taking so long, start asking what is God building in me and around me during this time. That shift turns waiting from a burden into an opportunity. You stop counting the days and start counting the lessons. You stop feeling powerless and start partnering with God in the process. Because in the end, a delay is not a closed door, it's a door being carved, polished, and prepared so that when you walk through it, it fits you perfectly. And when you step into that answered prayer, you'll see it wasn't late at all, it was right on time, with more beauty, depth, and power than you dared to imagine. And here's something people rarely talk about: sometimes the delay isn't about God preparing the blessing, it's about Him protecting you from an enemy's trap. If you rushed ahead into what you think you want right now, you might walk straight into a situation meant to harm you. God sees what's around the corner. You don't. That slow pace, that frustrating pause, it might actually be a divine shield over your life. You think you're just stuck, but in heaven's record, you're being diverted from danger you never even knew existed. There's a story I once heard about a man who missed his bus one morning and was furious because it made him late for work. That same bus was in an accident minutes later. He never saw the danger coming, but the delay saved his life. In the same way, There are spiritual traffic jams where God holds you back, not to punish you, but to protect you. You won't always get to see what you've been saved from, but trust, He knows. Delays also allow God to refine your motives. Sometimes we pray for things with a heart that isn't fully aligned with His will. Maybe we want success, but deep down it's to prove others wrong. Maybe we want a relationship, but we're actually looking for someone to fill a void that only God can fill. If He gave it instantly, it might satisfy the surface desire but leave the deeper wound untouched. Waiting exposes what's really in our hearts, giving God space to purify our intentions so that when the blessing arrives, it's not just received, it's cherished and used for the right reasons. And here's another mystery. In God's economy, waiting seasons often multiply what you receive. It's as if the longer the seed stays in the soil, the more branches and fruit it produces. Job lost everything, his family, wealth, health, and endured what felt like an endless season of unanswered prayers. Yet when the restoration came, it was double what he had before. The waiting didn't just restore him, it multiplied his life beyond imagination. Sometimes your delay is actually a divine investment maturing in value. That's why the Bible tells us to not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. Galatians 6 verse 9. That due season is God's perfect timing. Farmers don't rip up their crops 2 weeks after planting because they don't see sprouts. They trust the unseen process underground. In the same way, your prayers are like seeds, hidden for a while, but bursting with life under the surface. The longer they are nurtured in faith, the greater the harvest. So when it feels like heaven is silent, remember, it's never inactivity, it's incubation. The blessing is growing, roots are deepening, doors are aligning, people are being prepared, and your own spirit is being strengthened to carry what's coming. One day, the very thing you thought was late will show up, and you'll realize it didn't just meet your need, it exceeded it, shaped you, and set you up for blessings that spill into every corner of your life. How to approach God's promises with the bold confidence of someone who knows their account in heaven is already full. Imagine walking into a bank to make a withdrawal, but instead of quietly filling out a slip and hoping the teller approves it, you step in with a calm smile, already knowing the money is yours. You don't beg for it. You don't doubt if it exists. You don't wonder if the bank has enough to cover it. You simply say, "I'd like to withdraw from my account," because you know the funds are there with your name on them. That's the kind of boldness God invites you to have when it comes to His promises. He wants you to approach Him as a child who knows their Father is both willing and able to give. But here's the challenge. Most of us come before God not like confident children, but like strangers who aren't sure if we're welcome. We hope He will say yes, but deep down, we fear He might say no. And that fear, that uncertainty, is what makes our withdrawals from the bank of heaven feel delayed or denied. Faith is not wishful thinking. Faith is walking into prayer knowing the account is already full because God Himself filled it. You're not trying to convince Him to bless you. He's already written the promises, signed them in His word, and sealed them in the blood of Jesus. The Bible says, "For all the promises of God in Him are yes, and in Him amen." 2 Corinthians 1 verse 20. That's heaven's way of saying, the check has already cleared. The problem is, we often approach God like someone unsure of their identity. Imagine an heir to a fortune walking into a bank but saying, "I don't know if I'm really allowed to withdraw. Could I just, maybe, have a little bit, if it's not too much trouble?" The teller would look at them and think, "You have millions in here, why are you asking like you're broke?" Spiritually speaking, that's how we look when we pray small prayers, dripping with doubt, to a God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Bold confidence in God's promises isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's saying, "Father, you said in your word that you would supply all my needs according to your riches in glory. I'm here to receive that supply, not because I deserve it, but because you promised it, and you never break a promise." It's like holding a cashier's check from heaven. It's not about your worthiness, it's about the authority of the one who signed it. Think about the woman with the issue of blood in the Gospels. For 12 years she had been bleeding, spending all she had on doctors, and getting worse. But one day, she heard Jesus was passing by, and instead of sitting in her house hoping He might notice her, she pushed through the crowd, risking public shame and even punishment. She said to herself, "If I just touch the hem of His garment, I will be healed." That's not timid hope, that's confident expectation. She didn't say, "Maybe." She said, I will. And the moment she touched him, power flowed from him to her, and Jesus himself confirmed, your faith has made you whole. That's the picture of approaching God with bold confidence. You move toward him, you take hold of the promise, and you expect it to manifest. You're not trying to earn it, you're simply cashing in what's already yours. One of the reasons people lack this confidence is because they confuse humility with hesitation. They think being humble means saying, well, I don't want to ask God for too much. But true humility is agreeing with God's word, even if it feels bigger than what you think you deserve. It's humble to say, Lord, I believe you can do exceedingly, abundantly above all I ask or think. It's pride, actually, to limit what God can do in your life by keeping your requests small. Picture this. You have a heavenly account filled with every promise, peace, provision, healing, guidance, protection, joy. But withdrawals are made by faith, not by begging. Hebrews 4 verse 16 says, let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Boldly. Not timidly. Not apologetically. Boldly. If you've ever seen a child run into their father's office, you know they don't knock timidly and wait for permission. They burst in with joy, knowing they belong there. They might interrupt a meeting without even thinking about it because they know who they are to that father. That's the posture God wants from you. Now, confidence doesn't mean ignoring God's timing. Sometimes the withdrawal isn't instant, not because the account is empty, but because He's aligning circumstances so that when the blessing arrives, it's in perfect order. Just like a bank transfer that might take a little processing time, your prayer might require preparation on your end or alignment on the other side. But that doesn't mean the account isn't full. When you approach God's promises with boldness, you begin to pray differently. You stop saying, if it's your will about things He has already revealed are His will. You stop acting like a beggar at the palace gates and start walking in like a child of the King. And here's the secret. God delights in that kind of faith. Over and over in Scripture, Jesus responded to people with, be it unto you according to your faith. In other words, you believed it, so it's yours. This is why preparation matters. If you truly believed your account was full, you'd start making room for the withdrawal before it arrived. If you believed God was sending provision, you'd start planning how to use it. If you believed healing was yours, you'd start picturing yourself walking in strength. Faith prepares the room before the guest arrives. I remember hearing about a missionary who prayed for years for a vehicle to help transport supplies to remote villages. Instead of just waiting, he built a garage before the vehicle came. People laughed and said, why are you building a garage when you don't even have a car? His answer was simple, because God is sending one, and I want to be ready. Sure enough, months later, a donor who had never met him sent a brand new vehicle. That's faith in action, building the garage while the car is still on its way. Approaching God with this kind of confidence also silences the voice of the enemy. The enemy thrives on making you feel like you're unworthy, like you have to earn God's promises. But the truth is, the account in heaven is full, not because you've worked hard, but because Jesus filled it with His finished work. When He said, it is finished on the cross, it was like the final deposit that covers every spiritual and physical need you will ever have. So, the next time you pray, picture yourself walking up to that heavenly counter, not with fear, but with certainty. You're not hoping there's enough in your account, you know there is. You're not wondering if the check will clear, you're confident it already has. You're not bargaining or pleading, you're receiving. And when you walk away, you do so with gratitude, as if it's already in your hands, because in the realm of faith, it is. And here's the most beautiful part, God never gets tired of your withdrawals. His supply doesn't run out. You can come today for peace, tomorrow for provision, next week for healing, and still the balance remains infinite. The more you draw from Him, the more He delights in giving. It's the opposite of an earthly bank account. Withdrawals here don't decrease the balance, they multiply it in your life. When you begin to live this way, prayer stops being a desperate attempt to get God's attention and becomes a joyful transaction between a loving Father and His believing child. You wake up knowing your needs are already covered, your future is already secured, and every promise in His word is yours for the taking. That's the bold confidence of someone who knows their account in heaven is already full. It changes how you pray, how you wait, how you act, and eventually, it changes what you receive. When you truly believe your account in heaven is already full, something inside you shifts. You stop hesitating. You stop bargaining with God. You start moving like someone who knows the check is already signed. You pray differently. You walk differently. You even think differently. You no longer pray out of panic. You pray out of partnership. You no longer wait for a blessing to prove your faith. Your faith becomes the proof that the blessing is already yours. Picture a child who knows their parents' love, really knows it. They don't tiptoe around the kitchen wondering if they're allowed to open the fridge. They swing that door wide open, because deep down, they're sure the food was placed there for them. That's the kind of confidence heaven wants you to have. Not the arrogance of entitlement, but the security of belonging. But the enemy knows this truth, which is why he tries to convince you that your account is empty, your prayers are late, and heaven is out of stock. That's a lie. Every time you believe that lie, it's like tearing up a check that was already paid in full. Faith says, "It's mine, because he said so." When you live this way, you become unshakable. Delays don't scare you. Obstacles don't weaken you. You know your Father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. You know his promises are yes and amen. You know he cannot lie. And if he said it, then it's already deposited. And maybe, right now, you've been praying, waiting, wondering if heaven still remembers your name. I want you to hear me. Your account is not empty. Your Father is not broke. His vault is not locked to you. The same God who split the Red Sea, who fed thousands with a few loaves, who called dead things back to life, he is still the God of now. So stop knocking like a stranger and start walking in like a son. Stop whispering your requests like a beggar and start declaring them like an heir. This is not arrogance. This is faith. This is knowing whose name is on your spiritual account, and it's not yours, it's his. You are not here to survive on crumbs. You are here to feast on the fullness of God's promises. When you leave this place, I want you to walk as if the answer is already in your hands, because in the Spirit, it is. So step up. Speak up. And stretch out your hands to receive what your Father has already prepared for you. The bank of heaven is open, your account is overflowing, and the withdrawal slip is called faith. Fill it out today, because God is ready to cash it in ways you can't even imagine. Don't wait for the blessing to show up before you believe. Believe so fully, the blessing has no choice but to show up.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever stopped to think about the power of water? Not just as something we drink, not just as something that flows in rivers and oceans, but as a force that can transform your financial life. Water is life. Water is abundance. And, as Florence Scovel Shinn taught, water can also be a tool to attract money and remove the blocks holding you back. Imagine this, you pour water into a cup. What happens? It takes the shape of the cup. It flows freely. It obeys the container, but it can also overflow when full. Think about your finances like that cup. Are you restricting the flow of money because of fear, doubt, or old beliefs? Or are you allowing abundance to pour freely into your life? Here's the secret. Water responds to your intention. Think of it as a mirror to your inner world. Shinn suggested that by using water consciously, through visualization, affirmations, or even rituals, you can remove financial blocks. Let me give you a simple example. Every morning, take a glass of water. Hold it in your hands and speak these words. I am open to receiving all the abundance life has for me. I release fear. I release lack. Money flows to me easily and freely. Then, drink it. Feel the words sinking into your body. You are programming your mind, your energy, your very being to receive. And it doesn't stop there. Think about running water, a stream, a waterfall. Nothing in nature stays stagnant. Money is energy. If it stagnates in fear or resentment, it dries up. But if it flows, it grows. You can even take it a step further. Place a bowl of water in your home or office and visualize it filling with golden light. Imagine opportunities flowing in, debts disappearing, bills paid, and abundance pouring into your life. Do you see the connection? Water is not just a physical element, it's a spiritual channel. When you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the flow of water, you align yourself with abundance. Let's be honest, how many of us have blocked money by thinking, I don't deserve this, or money is hard to come by? Shinn reminds us, these beliefs are like dams. They stop the river of prosperity. But with intention, with repetition, and with the simple act of using water as a tool, those dams can crumble. Now, imagine your life 6 months from now. You wake up, bills are covered, money flows easier, and opportunities appear unexpectedly. Can you feel the relief? The freedom? That is the power of aligning your energy with abundance. Remember, this is not magic. It's a practice. It's mindfulness. It's a conscious choice to flow rather than resist, to open rather than close, to trust rather than fear. Water teaches patience. Water teaches persistence. Water teaches power. So, I challenge you today, start small. Start with a glass of water, an intention, and a declaration. Watch as your energy shifts. Watch as opportunities appear. Watch as your financial blocks dissolve like ice in a stream. Because, my friends, when you use water consciously, when you align yourself with its flow, money is not something you chase, it becomes something that chases you.
Thank you. Following are the key points you will listen in this video.
Water is a mirror of your inner energy. Use it consciously to align with abundance. Speak affirmations and intentions over water to program your mind for prosperity. Stagnation blocks money, flow attracts it. Keep your energy and actions moving. Negative beliefs about money act as dams. Consciously releasing them allows abundance. Simple rituals, like holding a glass of water and visualizing wealth, can shift financial energy. Consistency, mindfulness, and intention are the keys to turning financial blocks into financial flow. Have you ever watched a river flow? Really watched it? The way it winds through valleys, slides over rocks, catches the sunlight and sparkles, how it never stops moving, even when it encounters obstacles. Sometimes it tumbles violently over a cliff, forming a waterfall, fierce and unstoppable. Sometimes it meanders gently through a meadow, serene and reflective. Water is alive, responsive, and patient. And here's the truth many people overlook: your relationship with money is exactly like that river. Your energy, your thoughts, your beliefs, they are the banks that shape the flow. If your inner world is tight, fearful, or resistant, the river slows, stagnates, or even dries up. But if your mind and heart are open, if your thoughts and intentions are aligned, abundance moves effortlessly, like water finding its way through even the tiniest cracks. I want to tell you a story about a woman named Clara.
Clara had always struggled with money.
She worked hard, sometimes multiple jobs, but somehow she never felt like she had enough. Bills always seemed to arrive too quickly, opportunities seemed to slip through her fingers, and she constantly worried about the future. One evening, a friend introduced her to the simple practice of using water intentionally, inspired by Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings. At first, Clara laughed. Hold water in my hands and think about money? That's weird.
But desperation can be a powerful motivator.
She decided to try it. Every morning, she poured herself a glass of water, held it carefully, and whispered a simple phrase: I am open to receiving abundance.
I release fear and lack.
Money flows to me easily and freely.
She didn't expect immediate results.
The first week, nothing changed. The second week, she felt a subtle shift, an awareness of her thoughts and emotions. She noticed how often she had unconsciously thought, I can't afford this, or I'll never have enough. With a glass of water in her hands, she started to catch those thoughts and release them, like dropping stones into a river, watching the ripples spread and dissolve. By the third week, Clara noticed something remarkable. Opportunities she hadn't seen before started appearing.
A colleague mentioned a freelance project she could take on.
A bill she expected to be high came lower than anticipated. A small inheritance she had forgotten about arrived unexpectedly. And every time she held that glass of water, she felt her nervous energy soften, her heart open, her mind align with possibility rather than limitation. She began to understand what Shinn meant. Water is not just a physical element, it's a mirror of your inner state. When your thoughts are stagnant, the water seems dull. When your intentions are clear, it glistens with light. Think about the last time you felt completely open to receiving, truly receptive, without doubt or fear. Maybe it was a moment of love, of connection, of awe at nature.
That feeling is what water responds to.
Imagine holding that feeling in your hands, concentrated in a simple glass of water. You are not just thinking about abundance, you are infusing it, charging it with energy that can ripple through your reality. Every drop becomes a tiny beacon of intention. Every sip becomes a reminder to your mind and body that you are aligned with flow, not resistance. I remember reading about an experiment in Japan, where scientists showed that water could respond to thoughts and emotions. When positive words or loving intentions were directed at water, its molecular structure formed beautiful, symmetrical patterns. When negative words or anger were projected, the structure became chaotic and disordered. Now, whether you accept the science or not, the metaphor is powerful.
The water reflects your inner state.
If you pour negativity into your life, the river of abundance cannot flow freely. If you pour intention, love, and openness, the river becomes vibrant, alive, and unstoppable. Imagine for a moment that your financial life is a pond.
Perhaps it has been stagnant for years.
You see the same patterns repeating, the same worries, the same lack.
You feel stuck.
Now imagine taking a small stream, a tiny ritual of holding water, speaking an affirmation, visualizing abundance, and pouring it into that pond. Slowly, slowly, the pond begins to stir.
The water moves.
Light enters. Fish, representing opportunities, start to swim where they couldn't before. Life begins to awaken. It is not instantaneous, but it is inevitable if you keep pouring, if you keep your intention clear. And it's not just about saying the words or holding the water.
It's about feeling it. Clara learned that.
When she first started, she simply recited the phrases. But over time, she began to really feel them. She pictured herself receiving money with gratitude, imagined the relief of paying her bills without worry, and visioned the joy of investing in experiences rather than stress. Her body, mind, and emotions aligned with the energy of flow. Each morning, the ritual became more than a practice. It became a dialogue with the universe. She was telling herself, I am ready. I am open. I deserve abundance. And water, responsive and alive, carried that message forward. Even in everyday life, there are subtle ways to connect this principle. Washing your hands, taking a shower, filling a kettle. Every interaction with water can become a moment of alignment. Speak your intentions softly, allow your mind to imagine the abundance you want, and feel the shift.
Water is patient. Water does not rush. It does not demand. It simply flows to where the energy is aligned.
And the more consistently you practice, the more natural it becomes. You are training your subconscious mind to recognize opportunity, to notice when money can flow, to release old blocks without effort. I've seen people literally change their financial trajectory with this simple understanding. People who once struggled to pay rent now see contracts, raises, or unexpected windfalls. People who feared investing now approach opportunities with confidence. It begins not in the bank, but in the mind and heart, in the space between intention and action, mirrored by the clarity and flow of water. The river of abundance cannot flow through a dam of doubt, but it will carve a path through even the hardest stone if the intention is strong and steady. So, when you hold a glass of water tomorrow morning, don't just see it as a glass.
See it as a vessel for possibility. See it as a reflection of your inner world.
Watch how your thoughts ripple, how your emotions shift, how your energy opens. Speak your intentions, feel your alignment, and notice how opportunities, resources, and abundance begin to respond. Just as a river finds its way, so too does the flow of money and abundance find its path when you are aligned, conscious, and ready to receive. Have you ever noticed how words can linger in a room? How a single phrase, spoken with feeling, can change the energy around you? Words are powerful. They are the building blocks of thought, the bridge between imagination and reality. And when we combine words with water, the very essence of life, we create a channel that speaks directly to our subconscious mind, shaping our reality in ways most people overlook. Let me take you back to Clara, from our earlier story. She had started holding water, feeling the intentions of abundance. But then she discovered the real magic began when she actually spoke her words aloud. One morning, still skeptical but hopeful, she held her glass and said, I am open to receiving all the abundance life has for me. I release fear. I release lack. Money flows to me easily and freely. She looked into the water, her reflection shimmering on the surface, and something stirred inside her. It wasn't immediate, and she didn't see cash appear on her desk, but she felt a shift in her body, a subtle alignment, like the tension in her chest had softened, like a window had opened where before there was only a wall. Words over water are not just symbolic, they are instructions to your subconscious. Every time you speak an intention, you are sending a signal to your mind. This is what you believe. And your mind, powerful and obedient, begins to act in harmony with it. Think of it like programming a computer. If the code is clear, precise, and repeated consistently, the system runs smoothly. If the code is confused or contradictory, errors appear. That's how your thoughts and words work over water. They are the code for your life. Speak clearly, speak with feeling,
and watch the system begin to align. Consider the analogy of a mirror. Water reflects not just the surface but what is held inside. When you speak your intentions into a glass of water, it's as if the water absorbs the vibration of your words. Later, when you drink it, the energy enters your body, syncing with your own thoughts, reinforcing your beliefs. Imagine the simple act of holding water, looking at it, and saying, "I am worthy of abundance. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways." It is more than a statement. It is a declaration, a rehearsal for reality. You are training yourself to see opportunities, to feel deserving, to expect flow rather than resistance. There's a story from Japan that illustrates this beautifully. Researchers discovered that water exposed to words of love and gratitude formed intricate, symmetrical crystals when frozen. When exposed to negativity, the crystals became chaotic, jagged, broken. Now, whether or not you accept the science fully, the metaphor is clear: energy and intention shape matter. Your words, spoken with clarity and conviction, shape your energy. Spoken over water, they amplify, they anchor, they resonate in ways that reach deep into your subconscious. Imagine a man named Daniel. He had inherited debt, a mountain of bills, and a long history of telling himself he was not good with money. One evening, out of curiosity, he started a small ritual. He filled a glass with water, held it in his hands, and spoke, "I release all limitations. I am financially free. Money flows to me easily and continuously." Every night, he repeated it. The words felt strange at first, awkward, even silly. But over time, something remarkable happened. His mindset began to shift. He started noticing ways to save money, ways to earn extra income. Offers came unexpectedly. Opportunities he would have ignored before now caught his attention. He realized the change hadn't come from the water itself. It had come from the combination of words, focus, and intention aligning his subconscious with possibility. This is why repetition matters. One affirmation over water won't usually create overnight miracles. But repeated, spoken with intention, it rewires your mind. It replaces scarcity thinking with abundance thinking, fear with trust, resistance with flow. You are literally rewriting your financial script, line by line, word by word, with water as your partner. Think about this for a moment. How many times in life have you said something negative about money, perhaps without even realizing it? "I can't afford that. I'm bad with money. There's never enough." Those phrases are like seeds. Plant them, and you grow limitation. Speak affirmations over water instead, and you are planting seeds of possibility. You are watering them every day, nurturing the growth of abundance in your mind, body, and reality. You can take it even further. Some people place bowls of water in their homes or offices, speaking their intentions into the water and visualizing it glowing with abundance. Others use flowing water, like a small fountain, and speak while the water moves, imagining energy circulating freely through their lives. The principle is the same: water carries intention. Words become vibrations. Vibrations become energy. Energy shapes reality. Imagine holding a glass of water tomorrow morning. Feel its cool surface against your palms. Look into it. See yourself in the reflection. Speak aloud. "I am open. I am worthy. Money flows to me easily." Don't rush. Feel each word. Let it settle in your chest, your mind, your stomach. Visualize abundance flowing toward you, not as a dream, but as a reality already in motion. Drink the water. Let the energy and intention enter you. Carry it with you through your day, noticing how your awareness shifts, how your decisions feel easier, how opportunities appear more clearly. Even in small moments, this practice transforms you. It's no longer just about money, it's about belief, alignment, and awareness. It's about creating a bridge between your conscious desires and your subconscious programming. Each word spoken over water is a step on that bridge, a step closer to financial flow, a step closer to releasing fear and limitation. And the beauty is, it's accessible to everyone. You don't need a lot of money to start. You don't need permission, a special location, or a ritualistic ceremony. All you need is a glass of water, your voice, your intention, and your willingness to believe that the universe is listening, that the flow of life is responding, that what you speak, what you intend, and what you feel can shape the reality you experience. Have you ever stood at the edge of a pond, watching the water sit perfectly still? At first, it seems peaceful, calm, even beautiful.
The reflection of the sky glimmers on the surface, and it's tempting to think, this is perfect.
But look closer.
Do you see the leaves that have fallen and stayed there, slowly decaying? Do you notice the tiny scum forming on the surface?
The water is stagnant, and stagnant water cannot support life.
Fish avoid it, insects avoid it, even plants struggle. Life requires movement, circulation, flow.
Now, think about your finances in the same way.
How often do we let our money, our energy, our opportunities sit in stagnation? We hold on to old beliefs. I don't deserve abundance.
Money is hard to get.
I'll never be free. We cling to fear, we resist change, we guard every dollar with tension. And like that still pond, life's energy begins to stagnate. Opportunities slip by unnoticed, offers go unclaimed, bills arrive too soon, and the sense of scarcity becomes our daily companion. Money is energy, and energy must flow. Let me tell you about a man named Marcus. Marcus had been working in the same job for over a decade. He felt trapped, frustrated, and worried constantly about his finances. He had a habit of hoarding, not just money, but also thoughts. Every time an opportunity appeared, he hesitated. Every time he could invest or take a risk, he said no. His life, in essence, had become a stagnant pool. One day, a friend noticed his frustration and handed him a small fountain, saying, "Just let it flow."
Marcus laughed at first,
but he placed it on his desk, and slowly, day by day, he began to realize that the movement of the water mirrored what he needed in his own life.
He started small.
He opened up to new ways of earning, experimented with side projects, even applied for jobs he had never dared to consider. Each action, each small step, was like stirring the water in his stagnant pond. Slowly, opportunities began to appear. The fountain on his desk became a symbol, a reminder that abundance requires movement, requires trust, requires release. The more he allowed his energy and actions to flow, the more doors opened. What had once felt impossible now felt alive with possibility. Flow is not just external, it is internal. How often do we allow our thoughts to circle endlessly, replaying old worries and fears? How often do we resist the movement of change because it feels uncomfortable?
Stagnation begins in the mind. Money cannot flow to someone trapped in rigidity and fear.
But when we open our minds, when we allow our intentions and actions to move freely, the universe mirrors that energy. Flow attracts flow. Movement generates momentum.
And momentum attracts abundance. Think of nature. Rivers never stop.
Even when blocked, they find a way around rocks and obstacles. Even when encountering resistance, they adjust, bend, and carve new paths. The energy of money is no different. When we resist, when we cling, when we hold tightly to fear, the flow slows, dries up, or diverts elsewhere. But when we act with openness, when we let go of control just enough to allow movement, we invite opportunity. We invite abundance. Here's another example. A woman named Layla had inherited a small sum of money from her grandmother, but fear of losing it kept her from investing, from spending, from allowing it to grow. She kept it in a safe, untouched, and every day she felt the pressure of what she didn't have rather than the potential of what she could create. One evening, she filled a bowl with water, placed it on her kitchen counter, and visualized money flowing freely, coming in and going out in cycles of growth. She whispered affirmations over the water, imagining opportunities flowing like a river around obstacles, carrying her forward. Slowly, her mindset shifted. She felt courage to invest, to take small financial risks, to let her resources circulate instead of stagnating. The simple act of visualization, combined with movement, broke the stagnation that had paralyzed her for years. Even in your everyday life, stagnation can appear in subtle ways. Are you clinging to old debts, unpaid bills, or outdated financial habits? Are you resisting change because it feels uncomfortable? Are you waiting for the perfect moment that never comes? These are all forms of stagnation. They stop the river of abundance before it even reaches your bank account. Flow is the antidote. Take small, deliberate actions. Pay your bills on time and with gratitude. Move your money in ways that allow it to circulate. Invest, spend, give, and receive consciously. Every movement, no matter how small, stirs the energy of abundance. Water itself teaches patience in this process. A river doesn't carve a canyon overnight. A stream doesn't fill a lake in a day. Flow is consistent, persistent, and gentle. And as you cultivate flow in your financial life, you also cultivate flow in your mind, body, and spirit. You begin to notice patterns, opportunities, and possibilities you never saw before. You begin to feel a lightness, a freedom, a sense that life is moving with you rather than against you. Imagine this for a moment. You are standing at the edge of your own pond of finances. 4 years. It has been still, stagnant, suffocating under old fears and beliefs.
Now, you place your hand in the water. You stir it gently.
You whisper your intentions. You move your body, your energy, your actions. Slowly, the pond begins to ripple, then flow, then expand.
Fish appear. Light sparkles across the surface.
What was once still and lifeless becomes alive, dynamic, and abundant. That is the power of flow. That is the power of movement in attracting money. Marcus, Layla, Clara, they all discovered the same truth. Stagnation is the enemy of prosperity.
Flow is the secret.
When we align our thoughts, words, and actions, and allow money to circulate freely, the universe responds. Opportunities appear.
Bills are paid. Unexpected windfalls arrive.
Momentum builds. And the river of abundance begins to flow through every aspect of life, unstoppable, resilient, and alive. Have you ever seen a dam holding back a river? At first, it seems strong, immovable, even protective. It keeps the water contained, controlled.
But look closer.
Behind the dam, the water builds pressure.
It swells and churns.
It longs to flow. And if the dam is cracked or weakened, the force behind it will eventually break through, sometimes violently, sometimes gently, but always inevitably.
Now imagine that dam is your mind.
The beliefs you carry about money, the doubts, the fears, the old messages from childhood or society, they act like that barrier. They block the natural flow of abundance, creating tension, frustration, and struggle. Take Maya, for example. Maya grew up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy." She carried these messages deep inside her subconscious, and over the years, they solidified into rigid beliefs. She worked hard, saved diligently, but still felt trapped. Every opportunity seemed just out of reach. Every bonus, every raise, felt undeserved. Maya's dam was holding back the river of prosperity in her life. She didn't realize that the struggle wasn't the work, the hours, or the external circumstances. It was the internal barrier she had built over decades. Then one day, Maya stumbled upon the idea of consciously releasing negative beliefs about money. She started with a simple exercise, taking a glass of water, holding it gently, and speaking aloud every limiting belief she could identify.
I don't deserve wealth. Money is hard to get. I can't manage abundance. She didn't stop there.
After acknowledging each belief, she visualized it dissolving, breaking apart, flowing out of her body, leaving her hands, and disappearing into the water. Then, she replaced each statement with a new, empowering truth. I deserve abundance.
Money flows to me easily.
I am capable of managing wealth wisely. At first, it felt strange.
Her mind resisted.
Old doubts whispered in the back of her head. But over time, Maya noticed subtle shifts. She started saying yes to opportunities she would have dismissed.
She asked for raises with confidence. She began investing with courage.
The dam inside her mind was weakening, and the river of abundance, previously stalled, began to flow. Think about it. Every time you tell yourself, even silently, that money is scarce, that you are not worthy, that life is unfair, you are building pressure behind the dam. Opportunities may knock, but you don't answer. Offers may arrive, but fear makes you hesitate. Abundance is trying to flow to you, but the dam is too strong. Only conscious release, awareness, and repetition can weaken that barrier and allow the water to move freely.
I want you to imagine a metaphor from nature.
A beaver builds a dam in a stream. The water pools behind it, creating tension and stillness. Eventually, the pressure becomes too great, and the dam must give way, either by erosion or by deliberate destruction. That is exactly what happens in your financial life when you confront your limiting beliefs. The first step is awareness, recognizing the thoughts, the messages, the stories you've been telling yourself. The second step is intention, actively choosing to release them. And the third step is action, allowing the energy of abundance to move, even if it feels uncomfortable at first.
There's a story of a man named Leo. Leo had a fear of investing.
He believed money was unpredictable and unreliable. For years, he kept his savings in a low-interest account, thinking he was being safe. One day, After reading about Florence Scovel Shinn and the power of conscious release, he decided to confront his beliefs. He wrote down every fear, every limiting statement, and burned the paper over a bowl of water, watching the ashes dissolve into it. He spoke aloud. I release fear. I release lack. I allow abundance to flow to me freely. Over the next few months, Leo noticed that opportunities he would have ignored before began to stand out. He felt confident to take calculated risks, and his financial situation began to improve steadily. The dam had been weakened, and the river had returned. This is why rituals, visualizations, and affirmations are so powerful. The act of consciously naming your limiting beliefs, acknowledging them, and then releasing them, whether through words, water, writing, or symbolic gestures, signals to your mind and your energy field that you are ready to let go. The pressure behind the dam begins to ease, and the energy of abundance can flow naturally. Even small, subtle releases matter. Have you ever noticed a moment when you finally stop worrying about a bill, a debt, or an opportunity? When you consciously decide, I will trust life to provide. That single mental shift weakens the dam. You may not see the immediate change in your bank account, but the river behind it starts to stir. Energy begins to move. Opportunities appear. Your mind starts noticing solutions instead of problems. The river is coming alive. And here's the truth. Life is always flowing, even if we are resisting. If you do not release the negative beliefs, the water behind the dam builds pressure and stress. But if you allow yourself to consciously release, to rewrite the story you tell yourself about money, the flow is effortless. It is joyful. It is natural. The same energy that moves rivers, that nourishes crops, that sustains life everywhere on earth, will move through your life when the dam is gone. So, the next time you feel stuck, financially or emotionally, imagine the dam inside you. Look at it clearly. Name the beliefs holding it in place. Use intention, affirmation, and visualization to consciously dismantle it. Let the water of abundance, long held back by fear and doubt, pour freely through your life. You may notice opportunities, unexpected income, or new ventures appearing. More importantly, you will feel lighter, freer, and aligned with the natural flow of life. Maya, Leo, Clara, Marcus, they all discovered the same lesson. Abundance cannot flow to a mind trapped behind self-imposed barriers. Only conscious release, only awareness and intention, can break the dam. Only then can the river of prosperity flow unhindered, nourishing every area of life it touches. Have you ever noticed how simple actions can create profound change? A single habit, repeated consistently, can reshape your life in ways you never imagined. That is the power of ritual. And when it comes to attracting money and clearing financial blocks, the simplest rituals, like holding a glass of water and visualizing wealth, can be surprisingly transformative. Let me take you back to Clara once more. She had already started using water to connect with abundance, but she discovered something magical when she turned it into a deliberate ritual. Every morning, she would wake up, fill a clear glass with water, hold it in her hands, and take a few deep breaths. She would close her eyes and imagine the life she wanted, not in vague terms, but in vivid detail. She pictured her bills paid, her savings growing, opportunities appearing as if by magic. She imagined the relief of no longer worrying about money, the joy of giving to others, the freedom to invest in experiences she had always dreamed of. The act of holding the water became a physical anchor for her visualization. She could feel the energy of her intention flowing into the water, and when she drank it, she imagined that energy entering her body, embedding itself in every cell, every thought, every decision. It became a daily reminder that abundance was not something to chase, it was something to invite, something to embody. Think about the science behind this. Our brains respond to repeated, focused attention. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. When you visualize vividly, your brain begins to treat it as reality. By combining visualization with a tangible object like water, you are creating a multisensory experience. Your mind sees it, your body feels it, and your energy begins to align with the vision you are holding. This is how simple rituals shift financial energy. They turn intention into action, imagination into embodied belief. There's a story of a man named Julian, a struggling entrepreneur. He was overwhelmed by debt and convinced he would never make it. One day, he heard about the practice of using water with intention. Skeptical but desperate, he filled a glass of water, held it in his hands, and visualized his business thriving. He imagined customers flooding in, deals closing effortlessly, and money flowing into his bank account.
He spoke affirmations aloud. I am worthy of success. Abundance flows to me freely. I attract opportunities that expand my wealth. Over time, Julian noticed subtle changes. He began spotting ideas for growth he had ignored before. A client unexpectedly renewed a contract. A new opportunity arose that perfectly matched his skills. The ritual didn't create instant wealth, but it shifted his energy, his awareness, and ultimately, his actions. The glass of water had become a catalyst for transformation. Rituals are powerful because they create a rhythm, a daily reminder that your energy matters, that your intentions matter, and that abundance is a natural state. It doesn't have to be complicated. Even a few minutes of holding water, speaking affirmations, and visualizing your financial goals can begin to shift blocks you didn't even realize were there. The key is consistency. Every morning, every evening, every time you interact with water in this way, you are reinforcing a message to your subconscious. I am open. I am abundant. Money flows to me. Imagine a young woman named Sophie. She had always struggled with procrastination when it came to her finances. Bills piled up, investments were delayed, opportunities missed. One day, inspired by Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, she created a simple ritual. Every night, she would hold a glass of water, close her eyes, and visualize the money she needed flowing effortlessly into her life. She imagined it with gratitude, with clarity, and with belief. Within weeks, her energy began to shift. She became more proactive. She paid bills on time. She explored new income streams. Small wins began to accumulate, and gradually, her financial anxiety melted away. What had been invisible, stagnant energy now began to move. Rituals also help to create emotional alignment. Money is not just numbers, it is energy, emotion, and belief. When you combine visualization with a physical action, like holding water, you create an emotional experience. You feel the relief, the excitement, the freedom of abundance as if it were already present. Your mind begins to expect it. Your body begins to prepare for it. And the universe, responding to energy, begins to mirror that expectation in the form of opportunities, resources, and synchronicities. Even small symbolic acts carry power. Imagine a bowl of water on your desk. Each morning, you speak your intentions over it, imagining the water glowing with possibilities. Each sip becomes a reinforcement of your belief. Each act creates momentum. Simple, tangible, repeated consistently, these rituals recalibrate your energy, dissolve old fears, and allow abundance to flow naturally. Think about it like planting seeds in a garden. You don't need to plant hundreds at once. You start with one seed, water it consistently, give it sunlight, and watch it grow. Rituals are like that watering process. They nourish your financial garden, strengthen your intentions, and prepare your mind and spirit to receive what you've planted. The beauty of rituals is that they give structure to intention. Without action, thoughts remain abstract. Without consistency, energy dissipates. But when you hold a glass of water, speak your affirmations, and visualize wealth, you are creating a bridge between thought and reality. You are sending a message to the universe and to yourself. I am ready. I am aligned. I am abundant. So tomorrow morning, or tonight, try it. Fill a glass of water. Hold it. Close your eyes. See the life you want. Feel it deeply. Speak it aloud. Drink it. Let it settle in your body, and carry that energy with you. Watch as the ripples of that simple ritual begin to influence your actions, your mindset, and ultimately, the flow of money in your life. Small, simple, consistent actions like this are not just rituals, they are gateways to abundance, channels through which your financial energy can shift, expand, and thrive. Have you ever tried to build something, anything, in a single day? A wall, a habit, a skill? Most of us have, and we know how quickly enthusiasm alone fades. Without consistency, effort dissipates, momentum stalls, and what could have been takes years longer, or never comes at all. The same principle applies to abundance, to financial flow. You cannot simply hold water once, speak an affirmation once, and expect the universe to bow to your desires. Flow is cultivated, like a garden, with intention, attention, and repetition. Think of a small stream. At first, it may seem insignificant, a trickle. But day after day, it carves its path through earth and stone, persistent and unyielding. Eventually, that small stream grows into a river, shaping the landscape, nourishing everything around it.
Consistency in your financial practices works the same way. The simple act of holding water, visualizing wealth, speaking affirmations, when done consistently, reshapes your subconscious mind, your energy, and your life. It may feel slow at first, but over time, momentum builds. What was once stagnant begins to flow freely. Let me tell you a story about a man named Raphael. Raphael had struggled with finances for years, always feeling like he was one step behind. He would get a temporary windfall, a bonus, a gift, a freelance job, and then watch it disappear almost immediately because he lacked a consistent system for attracting and managing money. One day, he read about Florence Scovel Shinn and the power of water rituals, affirmations, and intentional practice. Skeptical but willing, he began a daily ritual. Every morning, he would hold a glass of water, visualize money flowing into his life, and repeat affirmations. I am aligned with abundance. Money flows to me effortlessly. I am worthy of prosperity. At first, nothing seemed to change. But Raphael kept at it. Morning after morning, night after night, he committed to the practice, even on days when he felt tired, frustrated, or doubtful. Over time, subtle shifts emerged. He began to notice opportunities he had previously ignored. He started saving more effectively. He made decisions with clarity instead of fear. Within months, Raphael realized something remarkable. The daily practice had rewired his mind, reshaped his energy, and opened pathways for money to flow that he had never imagined. What had been blocked for years became alive with possibility. Consistency alone is powerful, but mindfulness makes it transformative. Mindfulness means being fully present in your practice, noticing how your body, mind, and energy respond. It is the difference between going through the motions and engaging with intention. When you hold a glass of water and close your eyes, don't just recite affirmations mechanically. Feel the energy moving through your hands, your chest, your mind. Visualize abundance vividly. Sense the relief, the joy, and the freedom that financial flow brings. That presence amplifies the impact of your actions. You are not just practicing, you are aligning. Consider Sophie, a woman who had struggled with inconsistent income. She would visualize her financial goals sporadically, sometimes with great focus, sometimes distractedly. Her results were inconsistent. Then, she committed to consistency and mindfulness. Each morning, she would hold her water, close her eyes, visualize her finances as if they were already flowing, and speak affirmations aloud. She noticed every time old fears or doubts crept in. She paused, acknowledged them, and returned to her intention. Within weeks, her energy shifted. Her confidence grew. She made better financial decisions, attracted opportunities, and noticed unexpected sources of income. The combination of repetition and mindful attention created a cumulative effect she had never experienced before. Intention is the third pillar. Without it, consistency becomes rote, mindfulness becomes hollow. Intention is the conscious direction of energy, the choice to focus on what you want rather than what you fear. It is the difference between passively wishing for money and actively aligning with abundance. When you hold water, visualize, speak affirmations, and act intentionally, you are sending a powerful signal. I am ready. I am aligned. I deserve prosperity. Your actions, thoughts, and energy become a unified current, attracting opportunities, removing blocks, and creating flow. There's a story of an entrepreneur named Lila. She had long dreamed of building a thriving business but was blocked by fear and indecision. She began a simple daily practice, a glass of water, affirmations, and visualization of her business succeeding. But she went further. She combined it with deliberate action. She reached out to clients, refined her products, invested in learning, and followed through consistently. Her mindfulness allowed her to notice patterns and adjust, while her intention kept her aligned with her vision. Within a year, her business transformed from a struggling idea into a successful, thriving venture. She attributed her breakthrough not to luck, but to the daily commitment to intention, mindfulness, and consistent action. Consistency, mindfulness, and intention are like the three engines of a ship. Consistency keeps you moving forward steadily. Mindfulness ensures you navigate obstacles skillfully. Intention gives direction and purpose. When all three are aligned, the ship moves through calm waters and storms alike, guided by a clear vision and unstoppable momentum. Your financial life works the same way. Small, repeated actions, performed consciously and purposefully, create movement that compounds over time, dissolving old blocks, opening doors, and attracting opportunities. Imagine your financial life as a river once more. Stagnation and fear may have blocked the flow for years, but with daily practices rooted in consistency, mindfulness, and intention, the dam begins to crumble.
Water begins to move. Energy begins to circulate.
Opportunities appear. Abundance is no longer a distant dream. It becomes a living, breathing presence in your life. Every time you practice consciously, the flow strengthens and the river grows. Eventually, the momentum carries you forward effortlessly, even when you face challenges. Consistency, mindfulness, and intention are not glamorous, flashy, or instantaneous. They are quiet, deliberate, and persistent. Yet they are the difference between struggling in scarcity and thriving in abundance. Each day you commit, each moment you engage fully, each choice you make intentionally, builds momentum, rewires your subconscious, and shifts your financial energy. Over time, what was once blocked becomes clear, and what was once distant becomes inevitable. So today, I ask you, what will you do with the water in your hands?
Will you let it sit?
Will you let your fears, your doubts, your old beliefs block the flow any longer? Or will you take a glass, hold it, feel it, speak to it, and let it carry your intentions into the universe?
Start today. Start now. Start this very moment.
Do not wait for the perfect time, the perfect circumstance, the perfect opportunity. The river of abundance is ready. The water is ready. Your life is ready. But only if you move, only if you act, only if you allow.
Hold the water.
Speak your affirmations.
Visualize your prosperity. Repeat it every day. Repeat it with conviction. Repeat it with belief.
Let consistency, mindfulness, and intention become your allies.
Watch fear dissolve. Watch blocks vanish.
Watch abundance flow to you like a river, unstoppable, unbreakable, undeniable.
Do not let another day go by without choosing flow. Do not let stagnation steal your dreams. Do not let doubt silence the voice that knows you are worthy. You are ready. You are worthy. You are capable.
And the universe is waiting for you to take your first step, waiting for you to pour your intention into the water, waiting for you to claim the life you deserve. Remember this: water flows where it is allowed, energy moves where it is invited, and abundance comes to those who act.
So act. Speak. Visualize. Align.
Let your intentions flow like water, and watch your life transform. Because here is the truth, the unshakable truth, the secret hidden in plain sight: where water flows, wealth follows. Where intention flows, life transforms. And where you act, miracles cannot help but happen.
So take the glass. Hold it. Speak to it. Drink it.
And let your abundance begin, today, now, this moment.